Have you ever stood in the middle of your own life, surrounded by all the things you were told would make you happy, and felt a quiet, persistentness, a feeling not of sadness, but of absence, a silent hum beneath the noise of notifications, deadlines, and daily obligations, a whisper that asks, is this all there is? It's a uniquely modern paradox, to have so much at our fingertips, so much information, so much convenience, and yet feel a profound sense of disconnection from a deeper, more meaningful reality. We sense there is a world humming with magic just beyond the veil of our perception, a truth hidden in plain sight. But we have forgotten the language it speaks. Our modern world, for all its wonders, worships at the altar of the tangible, the measurable, the scientifically proven, and so, concepts like spirituality, mysticism, or the law of attraction are often relegated to the fringes, dismissed as wishful thinking, or worse, packaged and sold in shallow, commercialized forms that strip them of their true power. We are taught to trust our minds but not our intuition, to follow the map but not the stars. This leaves many of us feeling adrift, secretly longing for a connection to the unseen, perhaps even feeling a little foolish for believing that such a connection is possible. We feel the pull of the universe, but we are told to ignore it in favor of a more practical path. But what if the path isn't about choosing one world over the other? What if the true secret is to weave them together, to become a mystic in a modern world? This is not a call to abandon your life, but to infuse it with a forgotten wisdom. This is an invitation to embark on a journey beyond the seen, to explore the invisible architecture that shapes our existence. And our guide on this journey will be the spoken word, the timeless power of story and philosophy delivered through a medium perfect for our busy lives. The audiobook. Think of these audiobooks not just as books, but as keys, frequencies that can tune our awareness to the subtle messages of the universe, to the profound principles of self-transformation and the silent, powerful laws that govern creation itself. They are a bridge, allowing us to absorb this ancient wisdom while we drive, while we work, while we walk through the very world we wish to understand more deeply. Together, we will learn to decode the whispers, to understand the language of energy and vibration, and to reclaim our power not as passive observers, but as conscious co-creators of our reality. The journey begins now, with a simple question. What if there is, indeed, something more? To begin this journey, we must start with the very ground beneath our feet, the air in our lungs, and the silent, solid world we take for granted. We trust the chair we are sitting in. We believe in the unyielding nature of the walls around us. We operate under a fundamental assumption that reality is a fixed, external, and predominantly physical stage on which the drama of our lives unfolds. But this assumption, as ancient mystics and modern physicists are beginning to agree, is the grandest illusion of all. The first and most profound secret to understanding your place in the cosmos is to realize that you are not a small, fragile being living within a vast, dead universe. You are an indivisible part of a vast, living, and conscious universe. And the architecture of this reality is not built from matter, but from mind. There is an ancient piece of wisdom, captured beautifully in the audiobook, The Kabbalion, which states a principle that is the master key to all that follows. The all is mind, the universe is mental. Take a moment to let that sink in. It suggests that the universe itself, in its entirety, is akin to a great thought, held in the consciousness of a universal being or principle. The all, everything we see, everything we experience, from the farthest star to the most fleeting emotion, is a manifestation within this cosmic mind. Our individual minds are not separate entities, but localized centers of consciousness within this infinite mental field. like eddies in a great river. This isn't to say that the world isn't real. The pain you feel is real. The joy you experience is real. The chair you are sitting on is real enough to hold you. But their ultimate substance is not solid matter, but thought form, energy, and information. It is as real as a dream is to a dreamer while they are dreaming. The dream feels completely real. It has its own rules, its own physics, its own consequences. Yet, upon waking, we realize it was all a projection of our own consciousness. The mystics propose that our waking life is a similar kind of projection, a shared dream from which we are collectively beginning to awaken. Now, for the modern mind, this can sound like abstract philosophy, a beautiful but unprovable poem. But here is where our journey takes a fascinating turn, where the line between the mystical and the scientific begins to blur into incomprehensibility. In the early 20th century, physicists exploring the very smallest components of our world stumbled upon a reality so strange. It shattered all our classical notions of how the world works. They discovered the quantum realm. And in this realm, the solid, predictable world dissolves. Particles do not exist in one definite place, but rather as a wave of all possible places at once. A cloud of potential. They are not tiny billiard balls, but waves of probability. And the most startling discovery of all, the one that continues to baffle scientists and philosophers alike, is what's known as the observer effect. It turns out that this cloud of potential, this wave of probability, only collapses into a single, definite particle in a specific location when we try to look at it, when we measure it, when an act of consciousness is directed toward it. The very act of observation seems to call reality into being from an ocean of infinite possibility. Think about what this implies. The subatomic world, the fundamental building block of everything in our universe, seems to wait for consciousness to give it form. It suggests that consciousness is not some accidental byproduct of a complex brain, as conventional science has long assumed. It suggests that consciousness may be fundamental, primary, the very canvas upon which the universe is painted. The ancient mystic, who said the all is mind, and the modern quantum physicist, who says observation creates reality, are standing on opposite ends of history, using vastly different languages, yet pointing to the very same astounding truth. The world is not separate from you. You are not a passive observer looking at an objective reality. You are an active participant, and your awareness is the force that turns possibility into experience. The ancient Greek philosopher Plato conceived of a powerful allegory to explain this relationship between our perceived reality and a greater, unseen truth. He asked us to imagine a group of people who have lived their entire lives chained inside a dark cave. They are facing a blank wall, and behind them, a fire is burning. Between the fire and the prisoners, puppeteers walk back and forth, holding up objects whose shadows are cast onto the wall in front of the prisoners. For these prisoners, the shadows are their entire reality. They give them names. They study their movements. They believe the shadows are the only true things that exist, for they have never known anything else. Now, imagine one prisoner is freed. He is turned around and forced to look at the fire and the objects themselves. At first, the light is blinding, painful. The objects seem less real than the familiar shadows, but as his eyes adjust, he begins to understand that the shadows were merely faint, two-dimensional copies of a much richer, more vibrant, three-dimensional reality. If he were to then be dragged out of the cave into the full light of the sun, he would discover a world of such complexity and beauty that his former reality of shadows would seem like a pathetic imitation. This allegory is a perfect map for our journey, our everyday physical world, with its dramas, its routines, its apparent solidity, is the world of shadows on the cave wall, mystical traditions, and the audiobooks that explore them. are the guides that seek to unchain us, to turn us around, to show us the fire, and ultimately, to lead us out into the sun. They teach us that what we perceive as solid matter is just the shadow cast by a deeper reality of vibrating energy. And the light that casts this shadow is the light of consciousness itself. To truly grasp this is to fundamentally change your relationship with the world. You are no longer a victim of circumstance, a piece of driftwood tossed on the waves of a chaotic ocean. You are living inside a sentient, responsive universe. Everything is connected. The air between you and these words is not empty space. It is a plenum, a field of intelligent energy that connects you to everything else. The thoughts you think are not isolated, private events contained within your skull. They are disturbances, ripples, broadcasts into this universal field of mind. This understanding dissolves the illusion of separation that is the root of so much human suffering. The feeling of loneliness becomes impossible in a universe where you are fundamentally connected to everything. The feeling of powerlessness vanishes when you realize your own consciousness is the very stuff from which reality is woven. This is not about gaining a superpower to control the world. It is about remembering your innate power to co-create your experience of the world. It is the shift from being a pawn in the game to realizing you are a player. And the first step to playing well is to understand the nature of the game board itself. The architecture is mental. The foundation is consciousness. The connecting threads are made of energy. Understanding this architecture is the essential first step. It is the you are here on the map of spiritual awakening. Without it, all the techniques for manifestation, healing, and growth that follow are like trying to paint a masterpiece without knowing you have a canvas. You possess the most powerful creative tool in the universe, your own focused awareness. But a tool is useless until you understand the medium it is designed to work with. The medium is the mental, energetic fabric of reality itself. So, if this is true, if we are indeed living in a mental universe that responds to our consciousness, a logical and profound question immediately arises. What is the language that this universal mind understands? How do we communicate with it? How do we take the formless desires within our hearts and minds and impress them upon this field of potential, so that they manifest as shadows on our wall of reality? It cannot be our spoken words alone. For the universe does not speak English, or Spanish, or any human tongue. The language it speaks is far more fundamental, far more primal. It is the native language of existence itself, and that language, the very next step on our journey, is the language of vibration. If the universe is a grand, mental creation, a symphony of consciousness, then it must have a language, and that language, the medium through which all things communicate, from the dance of galaxies to the desires of the human heart, is the language of vibration. Ancient wisdom traditions have long taught a principle that modern science is only now beginning to validate with its instruments. A law that precedes even the famous law of attraction. It is the law of vibration. And it states, simply, that nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. From the most solid rock, which is a swirling dance of atoms, to the light hitting your eyes, which is a wave of electromagnetic energy. Everything is in a constant state of oscillation, humming at its own unique frequency. This is not a metaphor. It is the fundamental nature of reality. And the most crucial implication of this law is that it applies not only to the world outside of you, but to the world within you. Your thoughts, your beliefs, and most importantly, your emotions are not static, silent things. They are living, vibrating realities. They are your personal broadcast to the universe. Every thought you think sends out a tiny, subtle pulse of energy. A worried thought has a different vibrational quality than a joyful one. A critical thought has a different frequency than a compassionate one. But thoughts are often fleeting and scattered. The true engine of your vibrational broadcast is your emotional state. Emotions are, as the word itself suggests, energy in motion. They are the fuel that takes a simple thought form and amplifies it, giving it power and broadcasting it into the universal field of consciousness with incredible force. When you feel a powerful emotion, whether it is deep love or intense fear, you are not just having a subjective, internal experience, you are literally changing your own atomic and energetic structure. You are vibrating at a new frequency, and you are sending that frequency out like a powerful radio signal. This is the secret language of creation. You do not create your reality with your wishes alone. You create it with your vibration. The universe does not hear your words. It feels your frequency. This brings us to the famous law of attraction, which is perhaps better understood as the law of resonance. Like attracts like, it is a simple principle of physics. A vibrating tuning fork will cause another tuning fork of the same pitch, placed nearby, to begin vibrating in sympathy. It cannot cause a tuning fork of a different pitch to vibrate. In the same way, your vibrational state, dictated by your dominant emotions, determines what you can resonate with in the vast field of infinite possibility. You are the tuning fork. The universe is filled with an infinite number of other tuning forks, representing every possible experience, person, and outcome. If you are consistently vibrating at the frequency of fear, anxiety, and scarcity, you are a resonant match for experiences that will validate that fear. You will notice the things that can go wrong. You will attract people who are untrustworthy. You will experience setbacks that confirm your belief that the world is a difficult place. The universe is not punishing you. It is simply a neutral mirror, reflecting your own dominant energy. Conversely, if you can consciously cultivate the emotions of gratitude, love, and joy, you become a tuning fork for miracles. You begin to resonate with opportunities you couldn't see before. You attract people who are kind and supportive. You experience synchronicities and good luck that confirm your feeling that the universe is a benevolent and abundant place. Imagine two entrepreneurs, both starting a new business with the same goal to achieve success and financial freedom. The first entrepreneur, let's call him Alex, is driven by fear. He fears failure. He fears not being able to pay his bills. He fears what people will think if his business doesn't succeed. His internal monologue is a low-frequency broadcast of doubt. This is so hard. What if I make the wrong choice? There's not enough market share for me. His dominant emotional state is anxiety. As a result, his reality begins to conform to his vibration. He attracts a client who is difficult and refuses to pay on time, confirming his fear of financial instability. A key employee quits unexpectedly, confirming his fear of failure. He reads an article about a competitor's success and feels envy and despair, further lowering his vibration and attracting more of the same. He is working incredibly hard, putting in long hours, but he is trying to swim upstream against the current of his own negative energy. Now consider the second entrepreneur. Let's call her Bella. She is driven by passion. She loves what she does, and she is excited about the value she can bring to people. Her internal monologue is a high-frequency broadcast of trust and enthusiasm. I am so grateful for this opportunity. I can't wait to see what creative solutions come to me today. There is abundance everywhere, and I am open to receiving it. Her dominant emotional state is one of joyful anticipation. Because she is a vibrational match for positive outcomes, her reality reflects this. While networking, she coincidentally has a wonderful conversation with someone who turns out to be the perfect investor. She gets a flash of inspiration for a new marketing campaign while taking a walk in nature. She attracts a team of people who are just as passionate and dedicated as she is. She also faces challenges, but because her dominant vibration is one of trust, she sees them not as roadblocks, but as opportunities to learn and innovate. She isn't working any less hard than Alex, but her work feels effortless. Inspired, she is swimming with the current. This dynamic is explored in profound detail in audiobooks like Ask and It is given by Esther and Jerry Hicks, which presents a clear emotional guidance scale, showing how our feelings are direct link to this vibrational language. So, how do we become like Bella and not like Alex? The key is not to pretend to be happy or to suppress negative emotions. That is a form of resistance, which itself is a low vibration. The key is awareness. The most important spiritual practice you can adopt is to frequently check in with yourself and ask a simple question. How do I feel right now? Your emotions are your vibrational indicator. They are the universe's feedback system, telling you what frequency you are currently broadcasting. If you feel good, joyful, peaceful, loving, and grateful, it means you are in alignment with your true self and your desires. You are a match for more good things. If you feel bad, anxious, angry, guilty, resentful, it is simply a loving signal, like a dashboard light in your car, telling you that your current train of thought is taking you in a direction you do not want to go. When you notice a negative emotion, the goal is not to judge it or force it away. Simply acknowledge it. There is anxiety. Then, once you are aware, you can make a conscious choice to shift your frequency. This doesn't require hours of meditation. It can be a simple, deliberate act. Can you think of one thing, just one small thing, that you are genuinely grateful for? The roof over your head, the coffee you are drinking, a kind word someone once said to you. Holding that feeling of gratitude for just 17 seconds, as many teachers suggest, can begin to shift your entire vibrational state. Put on a piece of music that you know uplifts your soul. Step outside and look at the sky. Watch a funny video. These are not distractions, they are deliberate acts of vibrational tuning. You are consciously choosing to place your attention on a better feeling thought, thereby becoming a different tuning fork and beginning to resonate with a different reality. This is the true meaning of being a conscious creator. It is not about controlling the world, but about managing your own vibration. This leads to a crucial distinction between inspired action and hard work. From a low vibrational state of lack and fear, action feels like a struggle. It is the hustle and grind culture that leads to burnout. From a high vibrational state of trust and alignment, action feels different. It feels inspired. It is the sudden urge to call an old friend, the spontaneous idea to take a different route home, the effortless flow of creative work. This is the universe working with you, through you. When you align your energy first, your actions become infinitely more powerful and effective. You achieve more with less effort. This is the dance of co-creation. You do your part by tending to your inner state, your vibration. The universe then does its part by arranging circumstances and opportunities that match the signal you are sending out. We now understand that the universe is a mental field, and its language is vibration. We have the master key. But where is the broadcast coming from? What is the machinery within us that generates, focuses, and sends these powerful signals? To answer that, we must look at the most complex and powerful tool we possess: our own mind. Of course, here is the detailed script for part 2. Sen, we have established that we live within a vast mental universe, a field of consciousness that understands the language of vibration. This is a profound realization, but it naturally leads to a critical question. Where does this broadcast originate? The radio tower that sends your unique signal out into the cosmos, the very command center for your personal reality, is the most intricate and powerful instrument you will ever possess: your own mind. But to truly harness its power, you must understand that it is not a single, unified entity. Your mind operates on two distinct, yet deeply interconnected levels: the conscious and the subconscious. The secret to mastering your life lies in understanding the relationship between the two. Think of your mind as a great ship sailing across the ocean of life. Your conscious mind is the captain. It stands on the bridge, holding the telescope, making decisions, analyzing the charts, and giving orders. It is the part of your mind you are aware of right now. The voice that thinks, reasons, learns, and worries. The captain can decide on a new destination. He can say, I want to sail to the island of prosperity, or I want to find the harbor of perfect health. It has willpower. It can focus. But it's also limited. The captain can only focus on a few things at once. And at the end of the day, the captain gets tired and needs to sleep. Now, beneath the deck is the subconscious mind. This is the vast, loyal, and tireless crew. The crew runs the engine room. They hoist the sails. They navigate by the stars. They manage all the complex systems that keep the ship afloat and moving. Your subconscious mind is what keeps your heart beating, your lungs breathing, and your cells regenerating without you ever having to think about it. It is the seat of your emotions, the storehouse of your memories, and the domain of your habits. And here is the most important rule of the ship. The crew does not question the captain's orders. They simply execute them, whatever the captain impresses upon them. Whatever is believed with conviction and repeated with feeling. The crew accepts it as truth and works 24 hours a day to make it a reality. They are pure, unthinking energy, following a command. Herein lies the source of so much human struggle. The captain, your conscious mind, might stand on the deck and shout a new order. I am wealthy and successful. But the crew, your subconscious mind, has been operating for decades under a different set of standing orders. Orders that were etched into the ship's very structure when you were a child. Perhaps a parent told you, money is the root of all evil. Or a teacher made you feel you weren't smart enough. Or a painful breakup convinced you that you were unworthy of love. These experiences, repeated or emotionally charged, became beliefs. They sunk past the conscious captain and became the permanent, unquestioned directives for the subconscious crew. So while the captain is shouting, I am worthy, the crew is diligently steering the ship according to its core programming that says, we are unworthy. Avoid love at all costs. It's dangerous. And the crew, with its immense, tireless power, will always win. The vibration of a deeply held subconscious belief is thousands of times more powerful than the vibration of a fleeting, conscious thought. This is why positive thinking alone can so often feel like a frustrating failure. You are essentially fighting against your own immense, hidden power. The only way to truly change your life, to steer your ship to a new destination, is to go below deck and give the crew a new set of orders. You must reprogram the subconscious mind. One of the most powerful metaphors for this process is that of a garden. A concept beautifully explained in many classic texts on the mind's power. Your subconscious mind is like a plot of perfectly fertile soil. It is completely neutral. It holds no preference for what is planted in it. It will grow a beautiful rose or a toxic nightshade with equal dedication and efficiency. It will grow a harvest of abundance or a field of choking weeds based entirely on the seeds you plant. Your conscious thoughts, especially the ones you repeat over and over, are the seeds. Every time you entertain a negative thought, every time you criticize yourself, worry about the future, or replay a painful memory, you are planting a weed seed in the fertile soil of your subconscious. And because we are often surrounded by negativity, these weed seeds are scattered constantly, growing effortlessly until they threaten to overtake the entire garden. The work of a conscious creator is to become a master gardener of the mind. This means two things. You must stop planting weeds, and you must start intentionally planting flowers. This is where techniques like affirmations, visualization, and autosuggestion come in. They are not magic spells. They are powerful, practical tools for gardening. An affirmation is not just mindlessly repeating a phrase. A true affirmation is the act of choosing anew, empowering belief, and planting it with feeling. When you state, "I am confident and capable in all that I do," you should try to feel the confidence, to imagine the feeling of capability. The best times to plant these new seeds are in the moments just before you fall asleep and just as you are waking up, in these drowsy, dreamlike states. The analytical conscious mind, the skeptical captain, is less active, and the gateway to the subconscious crew is wide open. The messages sink in more deeply. This process is about repetition and saturation. You are overriding decades of old programming, as detailed in the timeless audiobook, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Regis C. Joseph Murphy. You can change your life by systematically feeding your subconscious a new diet, listening to empowering messages, reading uplifting books, and surrounding yourself with ideas that support your new destination, all serve to water the new seeds you've planted. Imagine a woman who has a deep-seated fear of public speaking. Consciously, she wants the promotion that requires her to give presentations. But her subconscious programming, perhaps from a moment of embarrassment in school, screams, "Danger, being seen is unsafe." Every time she thinks about speaking, her palms sweat and her heart races. The crew is following its old orders. To change this, she becomes a gardener. She stops planting weeds by refusing to replay the old memory and indulging the fear. Instead, every night before bed, she plants new seeds. She visualizes herself speaking calmly and confidently. She repeats with feeling, "I am a clear and confident communicator. My voice is heard and my message is valued." She listens to audio programs on confidence while she drives. Slowly but surely, the new seeds take root. The old weeds of fear begin to wither from lack of attention. One day, she gives a presentation and feels not terror, but a thrill of excitement. The crew has accepted its new orders. The ship has changed its course. This work also requires clearing out the mental static. Most of us have a constant, low-level hum of negative chatter in our minds. It's the voice of the inner critic, the worrier, the doubter. Becoming aware of this static is the first step. You don't have to fight it. Fighting it gives it energy. Simply notice it, acknowledge it without judgment, and then gently redirect your attention elsewhere. Back to your breath, back to a feeling of gratitude, and back to the flower you are choosing to plant instead. You are taking your attention, your sunlight and your water, away from the weeds. This is not a one-time fix. It is a daily practice. The patient, loving work of tending to the most important garden you will ever own. By understanding this dynamic between the captain and the crew, between the gardener and the garden, you reclaim your power. You realize that you are not at the mercy of your old programming. You are its master. You have the ability to install new beliefs that will automatically, effortlessly, and powerfully begin to shift your vibration and, consequently, the reality you experience. So now, you understand the architecture of the mental universe. You know its language is vibration, and you have found the broadcasting station, your own mind. And you have the instruction manual for how to program it to send out a clear, coherent, and powerful signal for the life you truly desire. A new question naturally forms in the mind of the aspiring creator. Once you begin this work, once you start weeding your garden and broadcasting this new, high-frequency signal, how do you know the message has been received? Is anyone out there listening? The universe, in its infinite intelligence, does not leave you guessing. It responds. It sends you signs, whispers, and messages to let you know you are on the right path. Our next step is to learn how to read this cosmic feedback, to become a student of the subtle art of decoding the universe's response. Of course, here is the detailed script for Part 2. So, we have arrived at a pivotal point in our journey. We understand that we live in a responsive mental universe. We have learned that its primary language is vibration. And we have explored the inner workings of our own mind, the broadcasting station from which we send our signal of desire and belief out into the cosmos. You have committed to becoming the master gardener of your mind, to pulling the weeds of doubt and planting the seeds of your highest vision. And so, you begin to broadcast a new, clearer, more powerful frequency, a profound and natural question that arises from the quiet of your own heart. Is anyone listening? Is this signal being received? Or is it just echoing in the chamber of my own skull? The universe, in its infinite and often playful intelligence, does not leave us in silence. It speaks back. It communicates. The great work and the great joy is learning how to decode its response. The universe does not speak to us in our native tongue. It communicates through the language of symbol, metaphor, and synchronicity. The term synchronicity was famously coined by the psychologist Carl Jung to describe events that seem to be meaningfully related, yet have no discernible causal connection. It is more than mere coincidence. Coincidence is seeing two cars of the same model on the highway. Synchronicity is desperately wondering if you should take a new job in a different city. And the next two cars you see both have license plates from that very state. Coincidence is random. Synchronicity feels personal. It feels like a wink from the universe, a quiet nod of acknowledgement, a confirmation that your inner world and the outer world are beginning to harmonize. These meaningful coincidences are the first signs that your broadcast is being received. They are the evidence that the universe is rearranging itself to match your new vibration. They are the rustling in the leaves that tells you something is moving. Something is responding to your call. So what does this cosmic alphabet look like? How do we learn to read these signs? They are often subtle, woven into the fabric of our everyday lives, waiting for an aware mind to notice them. One of the most common signs people begin to notice is repeating numbers. You might find yourself glancing at the clock at exactly 11:11 every day. You might see the number 444 on a license plate, a receipt, and a street address all in the same afternoon. In our logical world, it's easy to dismiss this as confirmation bias. But from a mystical perspective, these numbers are like gentle chimes, little nudges from your guides or your higher self, designed to do one thing: to get you to pay attention. They snap you out of your mental autopilot and pull you into the present moment, reminding you that there is a hidden order, a magical pattern beneath the surface of things. The specific meanings of these numbers can be explored, but their primary purpose is simply to say, "Hey, we hear you. You are connected. Keep going." The universe also speaks through serendipity. You may be grappling with a difficult problem, and you overhear a stranger's conversation on a bus that provides the exact insight you need. You might be feeling lonely, and a song comes on the radio with lyrics that feel like they were written just for you, comforting you and giving you strength. Or perhaps, the most powerful of all, you meet the right person at the right time. Let us imagine a man who feels a deep, persistent calling to leave his corporate job and move to a quieter city. Let's say Denver, to pursue his passion for writing. He is filled with doubt and fear. He asks the universe for a sign. The next day, at the gym, the man on the treadmill next to him is wearing a t-shirt with a picture of the Rocky Mountains and the word Denver on it. He dismisses it. That evening, he's flipping through channels and stumbles upon a documentary about the history of the city. The next morning, his coffee shop is playing a song by a band that famously got its start there. This sequence of events, this clustering of signs, is the universe amplifying its message. It's a loving, persistent echo of his own inner desire, showing him that the path is real, that the energy is aligning. This is the very essence of the journey described in profound allegorical detail in audiobooks like The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield, where the protagonist learns to follow a trail of synchronicities that lead him toward his ultimate destiny. However, a word of caution is essential here. There is a delicate balance to be struck. There is a great danger in obsessively hunting for signs. If you enter a state of desperate searching, your mind will project meaning onto everything, and you will drive yourself into a state of anxiety. This is the seeker's paradox. Desperation is a low vibration of lack. It signals to the universe that you don't trust the process. And this very desperation can block the flow of guidance. The key is not to hunt, but to allow. It is the difference between thrashing through the forest looking for a rare butterfly, scaring it away with your frantic energy, and sitting quietly in a meadow, in a state of peaceful appreciation, only to have that very butterfly land gently on your shoulder. You must cultivate a state of open awareness, of relaxed expectancy. You send out your intention. You do your inner work. And then you trust. You go about your day with the calm knowing that when the time is right, the signs will appear. And they will be so clear and personal that you will not be able to miss them. The universe responds to trust, not to neediness. Ultimately, while the universe provides these external signs, the tool for decoding them is entirely internal. This tool is your intuition. If the signs are the knock at the door, your intuition is the one who tells you who is there. Intuition is that gut feeling, that quiet inner knowing that doesn't come from logic or reason. It is the voice of your soul, your direct connection to the universal mind. You might see the number 777 everywhere, and your logical mind might dismiss it. But your intuition, that deep, quiet feeling, will give you a sense of peace, a feeling of yes, confirming that you are on the right track. Conversely, you might be presented with an opportunity that looks perfect on paper. All the external signs seem to point to yes, but your intuition gives you a feeling of unease, a knot in your stomach. That is a sign too. Perhaps the most important one you could ever receive. Learning to trust this inner guidance system is one of the most vital skills on the spiritual path. It requires you to quiet the noisy chatter of your conscious mind through practices like meditation and mindfulness, to create a space where the subtle whispers of your soul can finally be heard. Your intuition is your personal, infallible compass, calibrated specifically for your unique journey. So you have learned to broadcast your signal. You have learned to recognize the universe's response in the form of synchronicities, and you have learned to consult your inner compass, your intuition, to interpret their meaning. You are now engaged in a conscious dialogue with the cosmos. You are no longer shouting into a void. You are in a call and response with creation itself. But notice what this dialogue truly creates within you. The signs and synchronicities, when truly recognized, evoke a powerful feeling, a sense of wonder, of awe, of being cared for and guided. It is a feeling that dissolves doubt and builds faith. This feeling, this emotional resonance, is not just a pleasant side effect of the process. It is the very currency of creation. It is the amplifier that takes your broadcast to the next level. Recognizing the signs is one thing, but to truly become a master manifester, you must learn to harness the incredible power of the feelings that these signs generate. This leads us to the very heart of the engine of creation, the undeniable power of pure emotion. Of course, here is the detailed script for part 2. Whoa! We have journeyed into the subtle realms, learning to broadcast our intentions and decode the universe's response. We have seen how synchronicities act as cosmic affirmations, winks from the universe, confirming that our signal has been received. And we have noted the powerful feelings these signs evoke within us. A sense of wonder, connection, and awe. It is here, at the junction of thought and feeling, that we discover the true engine of creation. For if you're clear, focused thought is the architectural blueprint for your desired reality. Then your emotion is the power plant. It is the raw, untamed energy, the electricity, the fuel that is required to take that blueprint off the page and construct it, brick by brick. In the physical world, a thought alone, no matter how beautiful, is a silent, Powerless thing. A thought charged with powerful emotion becomes a creative force that can move worlds. Many spiritual traditions speak of this, but it is often misunderstood. We are told to be positive or think happy thoughts, but this barely scratches the surface. The real secret lies not in the thoughts you think, but in the feelings you embody. The universe is not a grand intellect that analyzes the logic of your requests. It is a vast, feeling-based field of energy that responds to the vibrational signature of your heart. It doesn't care about your 5-year plan. It cares about how you feel right now. The most direct, potent, and perhaps most mystical technique for manifesting your desires is therefore the simplest: to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Read those words again, for they hold the key to everything. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This is not about thinking about what you want. It is about generating, within your own body, the precise emotional state you would experience if your desire were already a tangible reality. Close your eyes for a moment and consider a deep desire, not just a fleeting want, but a true longing of your soul. Perhaps it is perfect health, or a loving relationship, or financial freedom. Now, ask yourself, if that desire were fulfilled this very second, what would be the dominant feeling that would wash over you? Would it be overwhelming relief, exuberant joy, deep, unshakable peace, profound security? That feeling, that specific, nuanced, emotional signature is your creative target. That feeling is the vibrational reality you must learn to inhabit, regardless of your current external circumstances. When you can successfully generate that feeling within you, you have collapsed time and space. You have brought your future desire into your present moment. Energetically, you have become a vibrational match to it. And by the irrefutable law of resonance, the reality that generates that feeling must, by law, to be drawn into your experience. There is no more powerful illustration of this principle than the real-life stories from the great 20th century mystic, Neville Goddard, whose work is masterfully captured in audiobooks like his seminal classic, Feeling is the Secret. During World War II, Neville was drafted into the U.S. Army and stationed in a large camp in Louisiana. He felt his time was being wasted. His deepest desire was to return to his life as a spiritual teacher for his students in New York City. He sought the advice of his own mysterious mentor, a man named Abdullah. Abdullah did not tell him to pray, or to hope, or to fight the army. He simply looked at Neville and stated, "You are in New York." He told Neville that while he was physically in an army cot in Louisiana, he must, in his imagination and feeling, to be sleeping in his own bed in his apartment in New York City. He was instructed every night, without fail, to assume the feeling of being there. He was to feel the familiar texture of his own bed, see the familiar layout of his room, hear the familiar sounds of the city outside his window, and most importantly, feel the overwhelming emotion of joy and relief that would come with being an honorably discharged civilian. Neville followed these instructions faithfully. For many nights, he would fall asleep in his imagination in New York. One day, his commanding officer called him into his office. The officer reviewed his file and, for reasons he himself couldn't fully explain, decided to grant Neville an honorable discharge. All illogical protocols were bypassed. In a matter of days, Neville was on a train back to New York. A free man. He did not lift a finger in the external world to make it happen. He simply won the battle internally. He did not want to be free. He assumed the feeling of being free. He generated the cause within. And the external world had no choice but to conform to that new causal reality. This story reveals the critical difference between wanting something and energetically having it. The state of wanting is a declaration of lack. When you say, "I want more money," the dominant vibration you are broadcasting is often the "I don't have enough money." You are focused on the absence of it. You are telling the universe, "This is my reality. A lack of money. And the universe, as a faithful mirror, reflects that reality of lack back to you. It is a vibrational contradiction. This is why so many people get stuck in a loop of longing, forever chasing a horizon that recedes as they approach it. The practice of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled shatters this loop. You are no longer wanting. You are, from a purely energetic and emotional standpoint, having. You are broadcasting the frequency of fulfillment, of completion, of already being the person who has, does, or is what you desire. You are closing the vibrational gap between you and your desire, making it not just possible, but inevitable. But how? You might ask. Can I feel something I do not have? How can I feel wealthy when my bank account is empty? Or healthy when my body is in pain? This is the great work. This is the alchemy, and the catalyst for this alchemy, and the philosopher's stone that can turn the lead of your current reality into the gold of your dreams, is gratitude. Gratitude is the master key. By its very nature, gratitude is the emotional signature of having already received. You cannot feel truly grateful for something you do not. On some level, I feel you possess. Therefore, you can use gratitude as a conscious tool to generate the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Don't just be grateful for what you have now. Begin to practice being overwhelmingly grateful for what you are calling into your life, as if it has already arrived. Before you get out of bed in the morning, spend 5 minutes feeling a wave of profound gratitude for your perfectly healthy and vibrant body. Feel gratitude for the loving, supportive partner who is already on their way to you. Feel gratitude for the abundance that is already flowing into your life, for the bills that are already paid, for the financial peace that is already yours. This is not lying to yourself. This is aligning with a deeper truth. You are giving thanks for the reality that has already been created in the quantum field. And your gratitude is the magnetic force that draws it into your tangible experience. It is the most powerful prayer there is. For it is a prayer that has already been answered. Thought is the blueprint, but feeling is the fuel. You must learn to feel your future into existence. And the primary workshop where we combine these two powerful elements, where we consciously direct our emotional fuel, is the sacred theater of our own mind. It is the place where we engage in the profound and magical art of visualization. Of course, here is the detailed script. For part 2, we have arrived at the heart of the engine of creation. Understanding that emotion is the sacred fuel that turns the blueprint of thought into the edifice of reality. We know now that we must feel our future into existence. But how do we practice this alchemy in a focused, deliberate way? How do we take the amorphous energy of emotion and give it a specific direction? We do this by entering the sacred workshop of the mind, the grand theater of our imagination, and engaging in the potent and magical practice of creative visualization. We must first reclaim the very idea of imagination. In our modern, productivity-obsessed world, imagination is often dismissed as a childish pastime, a form of idle daydreaming or unproductive fantasy. This is a profound and tragic misunderstanding. Your imagination is not a faculty for escaping reality. It is the faculty for creating it. The word itself, imagination, literally means the ability to hold an image within the mind. And every single man-made object you have ever seen, from a simple coffee cup to a sprawling city, first had to exist as an image in someone's mind. To visualize is to engage in the first, most fundamental step of all creation. Effective visualization, however, is far more than just holding a static picture in your head. That is like looking at a faded, black and white photograph. True creative visualization is a full-body, multi-sensory, immersive experience. It is the act of stepping into that photograph, giving it color, sound, and life, and living within it as if it were your present reality. Let us say your desire is to own a beautiful home by the sea. A weak visualization would be to simply picture the house from the outside, A powerful visualization would be to step inside. You would begin by using all of your senses to build the reality from the inside out. What do you see? Don't just see a generic living room. See the specific shade of blue on the walls. See the way the afternoon light streams through the large windows. See the unique grain of the wood on the floor. What do you hear? Is it the gentle, rhythmic sound of waves crashing on the shore? The sound of seagulls calling in the distance? The laughter of loved ones filling the rooms? What do you smell? Can you smell the fresh, salty air coming through the open windows? The scent of fresh coffee brewing in your new kitchen? And what do you touch? Can you feel the cool, smooth surface of a marble countertop under your fingertips? The soft texture of your favorite armchair? And most importantly, as you immerse yourself in this sensory symphony, you must ask, what do you feel? All these details are merely gateways to the ultimate prize, the emotion. As you stand in your imaginary home, you allow yourself to feel the overwhelming sense of peace, the deep gratitude, the unshakable security of being there. You are using the senses to trick your body and your nervous system into producing the exact emotional signature, the exact vibration of your wish already fulfilled. This is the fundamental difference between purposeful, creative visualization and idle daydreaming. Daydreaming is passive and often born from a place of lack. It is a wistful, wouldn't it be nice if, experience, where you look at desired realities as a disconnected observer. It's a form of escapism. Creative visualization is active, focused, and intentional. It is a powerful declaration of I am creating this now. I am being this now. It is a mental rehearsal, a profound act of becoming. You are not observing a reality, you are stepping into it and claiming it as your own. The emotional charge of a daydream is weak and fleeting. The emotional charge of a true visualization is potent and reality-altering. Perhaps the most compelling modern evidence for the power of this practice comes not from mystics, but from the world of elite athletics. Top-tier Olympic athletes, from skiers to gymnasts to basketball players, know that winning is as much a mental game as it is a physical one. They practice creative visualization with the same discipline they bring to their physical training. Imagine a world-class ski racer standing at the top of a treacherous, icy mountain. Before she even begins her descent, she closes her eyes. In her mind's eye, she is not just hoping for a good run. She is executing a perfect one. She sees every gate, every turn. She feels her weight shift perfectly, feels the crisp bite of her skis on the ice, feels the wind rushing past her face. She hears the swoosh of the snow and the roar of the crowd at the finish line. And finally, she feels the exultation, the pure joy of a flawless, victorious run. Neurological studies have shown that this kind of detailed mental rehearsal activates the exact same neural pathways and muscle fibers in the brain and body as the actual physical act. She is, in a very real sense, grooving a pathway for success into her nervous system. She's creating an energetic template that her body will then naturally follow. This is the core teaching presented in accessible and practical ways in classic audiobooks like Shakti Gawain's Creative Visualization, which has taught millions to apply this athletic principle to the creation of health, wealth, and happiness. A deeper level of this practice involves not only visualizing the end result, but also visualizing the process unfolding with ease and grace. If you desire a new job, yes, visualize yourself in the new office, feeling fulfilled and successful, but also take time to visualize yourself acing the interview. See yourself as calm, confident, articulate, connecting easily with the interviewer. This helps to dissolve the specific fears and resistances you might have around the steps required to get to your goal. You are paving the way, energetically, making the journey as joyful as the destination. And now we come to the final, and perhaps most difficult, step in the art of visualization. After you have spent your time in the sacred workshop, after you have built your multisensory reality and charged it with powerful emotion, you must learn to let it go. This is the ultimate paradox of creation. You must desire with all your heart, but you must not be attached to the outcome. Think of it like shooting an arrow. You choose your target, you place the arrow on the bow, and you pull the string back with all your focus, strength, and intention. This is the visualization process. But in order to hit the target, you must, at the critical moment, release the string. If you cling to the arrow, if you refuse to let it go, it falls uselessly at your feet. Clinging to your desire after you have visualized it introduces the energy of doubt, neediness, and fear. You start constantly checking the outside world for evidence, wondering, is it working? When will it happen? How will it happen? This is like planting a seed in your garden and then digging it up every morning to see if it has sprouted. You kill the creation with your own anxiety. The act of letting go is a profound declaration of trust. It is you saying to the universe, I have done my part. I have created the energetic template. I now trust you, the master builder, to handle the logistics and the delivery in the perfect way and at the perfect time. We have now assembled the primary tools of inner creation. We have the blueprint of a clear thought. We have the powerful fuel of focused emotion. And we have the workshop of visualization where we combine them to forge a new reality. We have done the internal work, but we do not live solely in an internal world. We must still act and move in the physical realm. So how do we bridge the gap between this potent inner state of alignment and the actions we take in our day-to-day lives? What is the nature of an action that comes not from struggle and effort, but from grace and flow? This leads us to explore the crucial difference between the old paradigm of hard work and the new paradigm of inspired action. Of course, here is the detailed script for part 2. See, we have journeyed deep into the inner world, the sacred workshop where reality is forged. We have learned to shape our thoughts, to fuel them with the power of our emotions, and to forge them into a coherent, multi-sensory vision in the theater of our minds. We have done the essential internal work, and it is at this point that the practical, modern mind inevitably asks a crucial question. So, what now? Do I simply sit on my meditation cushion and wait for my dreams to fall into my lap? The answer is both no and yes. Creation is not a passive activity. It is a co-creation. It is a dance between being and doing, between the internal and the external. But the secret lies in understanding the quality and the origin of the doing. For there are two profoundly different kinds of action you can take in this world, and they spring from two entirely different states of being. The first is the action of effort and force, which we will call hard work. The second is the action of alignment and grace, which we will call inspired action. Understanding the difference between them is the key to unlocking a life of flow and effortless achievement. Our culture, for centuries, has worshipped at the altar of hard work. We have been taught phrases like no pain, no gain, and we glorify the hustle and the grind. We are conditioned to believe that life is a struggle, that the universe is indifferent or even hostile, and that we must therefore wrestle, to force, and compel reality to bend to our will through sheer brute effort. This entire paradigm is born from a deep, subconscious belief in scarcity and separation. It assumes that success is a limited resource, and we must fight tooth and nail for our share. When you operate from this paradigm, your actions, no matter how well-intentioned, are imbued with the low vibration of fear, struggle, and desperation. You are, in a very real, energetic sense, trying to push a giant boulder uphill. It is exhausting, it is depleting, and it often yields frustratingly slow results. It is the very definition of burnout, a state where you have expended all your vital energy fighting against the natural current of the universe. This is not to say that effort and dedication have no place, but their application must be re-examined. Effort applied from a place of fear is a struggle. Effort applied from a place of joy is creation. Inspired action, by contrast, is an entirely different phenomenon. It does not originate from the conscious, striving, fearful mind. It arises naturally and effortlessly after you have done the inner work, after you have aligned your thoughts, feelings, and vision. You enter a state of trust. From this high vibrational state of peace and wholeness, you will receive an urge, a nudge, a quiet whisper from your intuition or higher self. This is inspired action. It is the universe working through you, not you working against it. It is the universe tapping you on the shoulder and saying, "Okay, we've aligned the pieces behind the scenes. Now, just take this one easy next step." When you act on this inspiration, you are no longer pushing the boulder uphill. You are simply giving a gentle nudge to a boulder that is already perched at the top of a hill, ready to roll. The action feels light, easy, and often joyful. It is characterized by a sense of flow and rightness, and a single, small, inspired action can achieve more than a year of desperate, forced hard work. Let us imagine a writer. She has a book contract with a looming deadline, but she is paralyzed by a crippling case of writer's block. She subscribes to the hard work paradigm. She forces herself to sit at her computer for 8 hours a day, staring at a blinking cursor. She tries to grind it out. The words feel like lead. The story feels lifeless. Her anxiety mounts. Her frustration grows. And the very act of writing becomes a form of torture. Her low vibration of fear and pressure is creating more of what she fears. A creative void. After weeks of this struggle, she gives up. She decides to try a different approach. She stops trying to force the outcome and focuses on her inner state. She meditates. She visualizes her beautiful, completed book on a shelf. She allows herself to feel the immense pride and joy of a celebrated author. She lets go, trusting the universe to handle the details. A day later, while in this state of relaxed, open trust, a quiet, illogical urge bubbles up. Bake a lemon cake. Her logical mind scoffs. A lemon cake? You have a deadline. You're a writer, not a baker. This is a waste of time. But the urge is persistent, yet gentle. It feels light. She decides, for the first time, to trust this strange impulse. As she's looking for the recipe in an old family cookbook, a faded, forgotten letter flutters out from between the pages. It's a letter from her great-grandmother, describing a fascinating journey she took in her youth. The details in the letter are captivating, filled with incredible characters and dramatic events. Suddenly, the writer's mind is on fire. This letter is not just a story, it is the story. Her writer's block shatters. The characters come to life. The words begin to pour out of her with an ease and grace she has never known. That single, illogical, inspired action of deciding to bake a cake was infinitely more productive than all the weeks of torturous, forced work. She followed an omen, just as the shepherd boy Santiago does in Paulo Coelho's timeless masterpiece, The Alchemist, and it led her to her treasure. Learning to recognize and trust these inspired urges is a practice in itself. They are rarely loud or demanding. They are quiet whispers, gentle nudges. They often feel random or illogical to the rational mind. It might be a sudden urge to clean out a closet, to drive a different way home, to call a friend you haven't spoken to in years, or to read a specific book. The key is to cultivate a sensitivity to these feelings and the courage to act on them, even when you don't understand why. Start small. Trust the small nudges. When you act on them and see the positive, synchronous results, you build the muscle of faith required to follow the larger, more life-altering inspirations when they arrive. This process also requires us to become comfortable with patience. After you have done your inner work, there is often an incubation period. This is the space between planting the seed and seeing the first sprout. During this time, it may seem as if nothing is happening in the external world. This is a sacred and active phase, not a passive one. It is a test of faith. Your job during this period is to hold the vibration, to continue feeling the joy and gratitude of the wish fulfilled, and to trust that the universe is busy behind the scenes, aligning people, resources, and events. To doubt or worry during this phase is to dig up the seed to see if it's growing. You must protect your vision and trust that inspired action will be delivered to you at the absolute perfect moment. It will not be 1 second too early or 1 second too late. So now, the picture of co-creation is complete. We do our inner work with diligence. We align our thoughts, emotions, and vision. We then release our desire with absolute trust, and we wait in a state of joyful anticipation. Our senses open for the quiet whisper of inspired action. But what happens when that whisper comes? What happens when the universe gives you the gentle nudge to start that business, or ask that person on a date, or book that ticket? It is at this precise moment, the threshold between the inner vision and the outer action, that we often meet our greatest foe. It is an enemy that lives within, a saboteur who rises up from the depths of our own mind to scream, "Stop! Who do you think you are? You're not good enough. You're going to fail." This is the voice of our own accumulated fear. This is the great inner battle against our own shadow, our own limiting beliefs. And learning how to face this foe is our next critical task. Of course, here is the detailed script for part 2. We have journeyed to the very threshold of creation. We have done our inner work, aligning our thoughts and emotions. We have received the universe's confirmation through signs and synchronicities. And we have been gifted with the quiet, clear whisper of inspired action. We stand at the edge of the diving board, ready to leap into our new reality. And it is here, at this precise moment of transition from the inner to the outer world, that we often meet the guardian at the gate. A great wall of fear can suddenly rise before us. A powerful, primal voice from deep within our own being screams, "Stop! Who do you think you are? You can't do this. You're going to fail. It's not safe." This guardian is not an external enemy. It is the manifestation of our own deepest shadows, the sum total of our doubts and our limiting beliefs. To take the leap, to truly transform our lives, we must first have the courage to turn and face this guardian. We must journey into the underworld of our own psyche and learn to dismantle the very chains that hold us back. These limiting beliefs, these chains, are not who you are. They are programs that you have acquired. Their power comes from the fact that they operate from the subconscious, running in the background of your life, silently shaping your decisions, perceptions, and experiences. Their origins can usually be traced back to 3 primary sources. The first is childhood imprinting. As young children, our brains operate primarily in a theta wave state, which is a state of high suggestibility. Almost like hypnosis, we are wide open, and we download the beliefs and attitudes of our parents, teachers, and caregivers without any critical filter. If we grew up hearing phrases like "money is hard to come by," "don't draw attention to yourself," or if we simply absorbed the ambient anxiety of our household, these ideas became foundational truths in our operating system. The second source is societal conditioning. We are bombarded daily with messages from the media and our culture about what is beautiful, what constitutes success, and what is considered possible or impossible for people like us. These cultural myths become our own, often without us ever consciously agreeing to them. Finally, and perhaps most potently, limiting beliefs are forged in the fire of past painful experiences. A single business failure can install the belief, "I am not meant to be an entrepreneur." A single painful heartbreak can etch the belief, "I am unworthy of love." The intense emotional charge of these events anchors the belief deep within our nervous system, turning a one-time experience into a lifelong identity. There is a powerful and poignant metaphor that perfectly illustrates this mechanism. Imagine a baby circus elephant. Its captors tie one of its legs with a thick rope to a small metal stake driven firmly into the ground. As a baby, the elephant is weak. It pulls and thrashes against the rope, but it cannot break free. It tries for days, until it learns a powerful and seemingly permanent lesson: when the rope is on my leg, I am powerless. Freedom is impossible. Now, fast forward 20 years. That baby elephant is now a magnificent 10,000-pound creature of immense power. It could uproot a tree with a flick of its trunk. Yet, it stands perfectly still, tethered by the very same small rope and stake. It has the physical power to walk away with a single, effortless step. But it doesn't even try. Why? Because the belief that was installed when it was small and helpless is still running its life. The external restraint is no longer real, but the internal restraint, the limiting belief, is absolute. We are all, in some way, that powerful elephant, held captive by the tiny ropes of our past conditioning. We possess an immense, divine power to create our reality. Yet we remain tethered by old beliefs that tell us we are small, weak, and unworthy. As the neuroscientist Dr. Joe Dispenza explains so brilliantly in audiobooks like Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, these beliefs create real, physical neural pathways in our brain. We become biologically hardwired to our limitations. The first step to freedom, then, is to become aware of your own ropes. You must become a detective of your own consciousness. One of the best ways to do this is to simply listen to your own inner dialogue. The next time you think about your greatest desire, pay close attention to the thoughts that immediately follow. Do they include phrases like, "I could never afford that," "I'm not smart enough for that," or good things like that don't happen to me? Those phrases are the voices of your limiting beliefs. Write them down. Another powerful strategy is to observe the recurring patterns in your life. Where do you consistently feel stuck? If you find yourself repeatedly in relationships that end in betrayal, the pattern is pointing to an underlying belief about trust or self-worth. If you always seem to make just enough money to get by but never enough to thrive, the pattern is pointing to a limiting belief about abundance. Your external life is a mirror, constantly reflecting your internal programming back to you. Once you have identified a limiting belief, you can begin the work of dissolving it. You must bring it out of the shadows of the subconscious and into the light of your conscious awareness. Take the belief. For example, "I am not worthy of a loving relationship." First, challenge it like a lawyer cross-examining a witness. Where did this belief come from? Who taught it to me? Is it absolutely 100% true? Can I find any evidence in my life, no matter how small, that contradicts it? Perhaps a friend showed you love, or a bit adored you. A belief is just a thought you have practiced thinking over and over. You have the power to practice a new thought. For beliefs that have a strong emotional charge, techniques like EFT or tapping can be incredibly effective. This practice involves tapping on specific meridian points on the body while voicing the belief and its associated emotions. It works to release the stored emotional trauma from the body's energy system, effectively unplugging the belief from its power source. And finally, you must consciously create and install a new, empowering story. You can write it out, repeat it as an affirmation, and visualize it. Instead of, "I am not worthy of love," your new belief, your new truth, becomes, "I am whole and complete on my own, and I attract loving, respectful, and committed relationships into my life with ease." It is crucial to understand that this journey into the shadow is a process, and doubt is a natural part of that process. The goal is not to become a person who never feels fear or doubt again. The goal is to change your relationship with fear and doubt. When these feelings arise, and they will, especially when you are on the verge of a major up-level in your life, You do not have to believe them. You do not have to identify with them. You can learn to observe them, as you would observe clouds passing in the sky. You can say to yourself, "Ah, the feeling of doubt is present. My old programming is being activated." You acknowledge its presence without giving it your power. You let it be there. But you choose not to serve it tea. You let it be a passing storm, while you remain the calm, unshakable sky. This is the path of mastery. We have faced the guardian at the gate. We have learned to identify the old, rusty chains of our limiting beliefs and have been given the keys to begin unlocking them. This is deep, courageous, and transformative work. But while we are engaged in this profound inner renovation, we still must live our lives in the external world. A world that is often filled with its own brand of negativity, challenges, and chaos. How do we protect our fragile, newly cultivated inner peace? How do we maintain a high vibration when we are surrounded by low vibrational energy? This requires a special kind of spiritual tool, a form of alchemy that can transform any circumstance, no matter how dark or difficult, into pure gold. This alchemy is the profound and life-altering power of gratitude. Of course, here is the detailed script for part 2. So, we have journeyed together into the shadows of the psyche, facing the guardians of our own limitations, the deeply ingrained doubts and fears that have held us captive. This work is essential. It is courageous, but it can also be draining. Delving into our past wounds and challenging our core programming requires immense energy. And as we do this profound inner work, we are still living in an external world that often bombards us with negativity, bad news, and reasons to be fearful. So, how do we cleanse our energetic palette? How do we protect our newly cultivated inner state and rapidly restore our vibration when it dips? We need a form of spiritual alchemy, a tool so powerful it can take the lead of any negative circumstance, any fear, any doubt, and transform it instantly into the pure gold of a high vibrational state. That tool, that philosopher's stone, is the profound and life-altering practice of gratitude. We must first understand that gratitude is not a social pleasantry. It is not merely the act of saying the words "thank you." That is politeness. True gratitude is a state of being. It is a profound and conscious shift in perception, a decision to actively scan your reality, not for what is missing, but for what is present. It is a deep, visceral, emotional acknowledgement of the gifts that constantly surround you. From the most mundane to the most magnificent, it is the feeling of warmth from the sun on your skin, the taste of clean water, the sound of a loved one's voice, the very miracle of the breath moving in and out of your body. To live in a state of gratitude is to walk through the world with your heart open, actively looking for beauty, for blessings, and for evidence of grace. It is the fastest, most direct, and most reliable path out of the low-frequency states of fear, lack, and victimhood, and into the high-frequency states of love, abundance, and empowerment. The power of gratitude is not just a poetic concept, it is a matter of vibrational physics. As we have established, you are a broadcasting tower, constantly sending out a frequency that the universe matches. When you are complaining, you are broadcasting the frequency of problems. So, the universe sends you more problems to complain about. When you are worrying, you are broadcasting the frequency of lack. So the universe sends you more circumstances that reflect that lack. Gratitude instantly short-circuits this negative feedback loop. You cannot feel genuine, heartfelt gratitude and feel fear at the same time. The two emotions are vibrationally incompatible. They cannot coexist in your body at the same moment. Therefore, choosing to feel gratitude is the ultimate act of vibrational self-mastery. When you feel grateful, you are, by definition, broadcasting the frequency of having received. You are sending a powerful signal to the universe that says, "I am blessed. I have enough. I have been given a gift. The universe, as the faithful mirror, has no choice but to reflect more experiences, people, and circumstances back to you that match this declaration, giving you even more to be grateful for. Imagine a man who has lost everything. His business has failed. His savings are gone. And he is consumed by bitterness, despair, and a deep-seated fear for the future. He is a vibrational match for more loss. And his world continues to shrink around him. One day, at his absolute lowest point, he remembers a piece of advice he once heard. He finds a small, smooth stone in his garden and puts it in his pocket. The advice was to hold the stone and think of just one thing he was grateful for. He feels foolish and resists, his mind screaming a list of all his troubles. But he persists. He clutches the stone and thinks, well, I am not homeless. I still have this roof over my head. He forces himself to truly feel a tiny, flickering spark of gratitude for the shelter. The next morning, he does it again. I am grateful for the cup of coffee I am about to drink. The day after, I am grateful that my body is healthy and I can walk. He makes this his non-negotiable ritual. Every day, he finds a few small things. He is not trying to deny his problems. He is simply choosing to place his dominant focus elsewhere for a few moments. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, an alchemical change begins to occur. By starting his day with this small act of gratitude, he is shifting his base vibrational frequency, ever so slightly, from pure despair to a mixture of despair and appreciation. He is no longer broadcasting a pure signal of lack. And because his signal has changed, the reflection must change. He starts to notice things he was blind to before. A conversation with a neighbor sparks an idea for a small-scale business he could start from home. Because he is feeling slightly more positive, he presents himself with more confidence, and people respond to him differently. Because he is grateful for the small amounts of money that come in, he manages them better, and they seem to multiply. His life begins to rebuild itself, piece by piece, not because of a stroke of external luck, but because he consciously changed his energy from the inside out. Starting with a single, humble thought of gratitude. This simple yet profound practice is the very foundation of the journey detailed in audiobooks like The Magic by Rhonda Byrne, which guides you through a daily process of cultivating this powerful habit. You can integrate this alchemy into your own life through simple daily rituals. You can keep a gratitude journal, and every evening, write down 5 specific things from your day that you are grateful for. Be specific. Don't just write, I'm grateful for my family. Write, I'm grateful for the way my partner smiled at me this morning. Or I am grateful for the hilarious story my friend told me on the phone. Specificity brings the feeling to life. You can use the gratitude rock practice from the story. Carry a small talisman in your pocket, and every time you touch it, let it be your cue to find something in your present moment to appreciate. The advanced practice, the true mark of the alchemist, is to find the gold in the lead. When you are faced with a difficult challenge or a painful situation, ask the question, what is the gift here? What can I learn from this? Is there anything at all, that I can be grateful for in this experience? Perhaps the challenge is making you stronger, more compassionate, or teaching you a valuable lesson. Finding gratitude in adversity is what turns victims into warriors. And now we come to the most mystical and powerful application of this practice. Gratitude is not only for what you have, but for what you are creating. As we learned, the key to manifestation is to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Giving thanks for your desire before it has physically arrived is the most powerful way to generate that feeling. It is the ultimate expression of faith. It is a declaration to the universe that you have no doubt that what you have asked for is already yours in the spiritual realm and is on its way to you in the physical. When you say, "Thank you, universe, for the perfect Loving partner you have brought into my life. You are aligning your vibration perfectly with that reality. When you feel genuine gratitude for the abundance that is flowing to you, even when your bank account looks sparse, you become a magnet for that abundance. You are closing the gap between your present reality and your desired future with the force of your faith-filled appreciation. Gratitude, then, is our master tool. It cleanses our energy field. It raises our vibration. It magnetizes our desires into our experience. It anchors us in the power of the present moment and fuels our faith in a benevolent future. But even with a heart full of gratitude for the now and the next, many of us are still being held back. We are energetically anchored to the grievances, regrets, and sorrows of the past. These anchors act like a powerful undertow, constantly pulling our vibration down, no matter how hard we try to swim toward the light. To be truly free to create the life we desire, we must learn to consciously and courageously cut these cords to the past. This brings us to our next great task: the profound and liberating power of letting go. Of course, here is the detailed script for part 2. Sure, we have journeyed through the luminous, creative power of gratitude, learning to use it as an alchemical tool to transform our present moment and magnetize our desired future. With a heart full of appreciation, we stand in a high vibrational state and ready to receive the good that is flowing to us. And yet, for so many of us, there is an invisible, powerful force that holds us back. It is like trying to sail a magnificent ship out to sea while it is still tethered to the dock by a dozen thick, heavy ropes. These ropes are our attachments, our resentments, our regrets, and our desperate need to control. They are the anchors to our past that prevent us from sailing into our future. To be truly free, to allow the universal currents to carry us toward our destination, we must learn the courageous and profoundly liberating spiritual art of letting go. First, we must dismantle a deep and pervasive misunderstanding. In our culture of striving and winning, the idea of letting go is often confused with giving up. They are not the same. In fact, they are energetic opposites. Giving up is an act of despair. It is born from a low vibration belief that what you desire is impossible, that the universe is against you, and that you are powerless. It is an admission of defeat. Letting go, on the other hand, is an act of supreme faith and ultimate power. It is born from the high vibration knowing that you are a co-creator with a universal intelligence that is infinitely wise and benevolent. Letting go is not abandoning your desire. It is abandoning your arrogant and stressful attempt to control how and when that desire will manifest. It is a conscious and powerful surrender to a higher wisdom. It is the difference between a soldier surrendering his sword to the enemy and a master artist surrendering his brush to the flow of inspiration. There is no better metaphor for this process than that of a wise farmer planting a seed. The farmer does his part with impeccable diligence. He prepares the soil, tilling it and enriching it with nutrients. This is the inner work of clearing your limiting beliefs. He chooses the most vibrant, healthy seed he can find. This is the act of getting crystal clear on your intention. He then carefully plants the seed in the earth and waters it. This is the act of visualization, of charging your desire with the emotional fuel of faith and gratitude. He has done his part of the co-creation perfectly. Now, what does the wise farmer do next? Does he come back every morning with a shovel and frantically dig up the seed to check if it's sprouting? Does he stand over the plot of earth and scream at it, demanding to know the precise date and time of germination? Of course not. To do so would be absurd. It would destroy the very creation he has set in motion. The wise farmer, after doing his part, lets go. He surrenders. He trusts in a process and an intelligence far greater than his own. He trusts the soil. He trusts the sun. He trusts the rain. And he trusts the innate wisdom within the seed itself to know exactly what to do. He has faith. This is the ultimate test we all face after we have planted our own desires in the fertile soil of the universal mind. Our obsessive need to know the how and the when is the spiritual equivalent of digging up the seed. It is an act of distrust. It broadcasts a vibration of doubt into the field, which can delay or distort our manifestation. The act of letting go of the outcome is the final, essential ingredient. It is a declaration of faith that says to the universe, I have done my work. Now I trust you to do yours. I know you see a bigger picture than I do. And I am open to this desire, manifesting in the perfect way and at the perfect time, or in a way that is even better than I can currently imagine. This principle of letting go also applies to the heavy anchors of our past. Many of us are carrying years, even decades, of trapped emotional energy in the form of resentment, anger, blame, and guilt. Holding on to these grievances is like drinking a cup of poison every single day and expecting the other person to be harmed by it. Energetically, these emotions are dense, low-frequency vibrations that become stuck in our bodies and our energy fields. They act as a constant drag on our overall frequency, making it impossible to rise to the vibrational level of joy, peace, and abundance that we seek. The only way to free ourselves is through the courageous act of forgiveness. Let us reframe forgiveness. It is not about condoning what another person did. It is not about saying their actions were acceptable. Forgiveness is not for them, it is for you. It is the most profound act of self-love. It is the act of you saying, I am no longer willing to sacrifice my own peace of mind, my physical health, and my future happiness by allowing this past event to occupy precious space in my energy field. I am cutting the cord. I am taking my power back. Imagine a man who was deeply betrayed by a business partner years ago. He carries a burning rage in his heart. The betrayal plays on a loop in his mind. As a result, his life has stagnated. He is cynical. His health suffers, and he is unable to trust anyone enough to build new ventures. The trapped energy of his resentment is poisoning his present reality. Finally, through a conscious act of will, perhaps by writing a long, angry letter to his former partner that he never sends, he allows himself to feel all the pain and rage. And then he makes a decision. I release you. I forgive you. Not for you, but for me. I set myself free. It is a painful, wrenching process. But afterward, he feels a lightness he hasn't felt in years. He has released the poison. Soon after, his health begins to improve. He meets someone with a new idea and feels an openness he thought was long gone. By releasing the energy of the past, he created a vacuum, and the universe rushed in to fill it with new, high-vibrational experiences, as you will find in profound audiobooks like The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. The path to true freedom always involves releasing these stored thorns in our consciousness. And remember, the person you may most need to forgive is yourself. You must extend this same grace to your past mistakes, releasing the shame and guilt that tether you to a lesser version of yourself. To make the act of letting go more tangible, you can create a small ritual of entrustment. After you have completed your visualization and felt the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you can consciously perform an act that symbolizes your release. You might write your desire on a piece of paper, and with a feeling of deep trust, burn it, watching the smoke carry your intention out into the universe. You might visualize placing your desire into a beautiful, ornate box, closing the lid, and handing that box over to a loving, benevolent presence. Knowing it is in safe hands, this symbolic act helps to signal to your own subconscious mind that your work is done. It is time to release your white-knuckled grip on the outcome. By learning this art of letting go, we untie the ropes that have kept our magnificent ship moored in the shallow, stagnant waters of our past. We have released our desperate need to control the vast, unknowable ocean. We have surrendered not to defeat, but to the flow of a divine intelligence. We are now untethered, unburdened, and free to move. But where are we moving? We are moving into the great powerful current of life itself. This act of surrender is not the end of our work. It is the beginning of a new way of living. One that is not defined by struggling against the current, but by learning to dance with it. This brings us to the beautiful and profound concept of finding our flow in the great river of life. Of course, here is the detailed script for part 2. Sure ye, we have done the brave work of letting go. We have stood at the harbor of our past and heroically cut the thick, heavy ropes of resentment, regret, and the need for control. Our ship is finally untethered, free from the dock, and for the first time, we can feel the gentle but powerful pull of the water beneath us. This is the great river of life, the universal current of unfolding events. And now we face the most important choice of our journey. Do we frantically start paddling against this current, trying to force our way upstream through sheer, exhausting effort? Or do we have the wisdom to turn our vessel around and learn to work with the current, allowing its immense power to carry us forward with grace and speed? The latter choice is the decision to live in a state of flow. The concept of flow is not just a mystical ideal. It is a well-documented psychological state, a peak human experience researched and named by the psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi in his work, beautifully detailed in audiobooks like Flow: The Psychology of Optimal Experience. He describes it as a state of being so completely absorbed in an activity that everything else disappears. The ego falls away. Our sense of time becomes distorted, and our actions and awareness merge into a single, unified field. We've all felt glimpses of this. It's the musician lost in a song, the artist so absorbed in their painting they forget to eat, the athlete in the zone, the programmer effortlessly solving a complex problem. In these moments, we are not thinking about what we are doing. We are the doing. This psychological state is a perfect mirror of the ancient spiritual concept of Wu Wei, or effortless action. It is the state where our personal will becomes so perfectly aligned with the universal will that our actions are no longer a struggle, but a dance. To truly understand this, let us use the metaphor of a kayaker on a powerful river. Imagine first a kayaker who is determined to go upstream. Every single stroke of his paddle is a battle against the immense, relentless force of the river. His muscles burn, sweat pour down his face, and his mind is filled with the strain and struggle of the effort. He is making painstakingly slow progress, and his entire experience is one of frustration and exhaustion. He feels like a victim, constantly battling the hostile force of the river. This kayaker represents the default state for most of humanity. Operating under the paradigm of hard work, we are constantly paddling against the natural flow of events, trying to force outcomes, control people, and impose our will upon a universe that has its own powerful current. We live in a state of resistance, and the symptoms are chronic stress, frustration, anxiety, and the feeling that we are constantly hitting one roadblock after another. Now, imagine that kayaker has a moment of insight. He realizes the futility of his struggle. He stops fighting, and with a single, wise decision, he turns his kayak around to face downstream. Instantly, the battle ceases. The very same current that was his adversary is now his greatest ally. It picks him up and begins to carry him forward with a speed and power he could never have achieved on his own. He has entered the state of flow. But this is the crucial point. Entering the flow is not an act of passive abdication. The masterful kayaker does not simply drop his paddle and hope for the best. That would leave him crashing into rocks and getting stuck in stagnant eddies. No. The masterful kayaker keeps his paddle in the water, but he is no longer using it for propulsion. He is using it to steer. He uses his intention and his inspired choices as a rudder. Skillfully navigating the river's current, he sees a rock ahead and makes a subtle adjustment to glide past it. He sees a more interesting channel to the left and guides his vessel into it. He is in a dynamic dance with the river, a beautiful partnership between his personal intention and the river's immense power. This is the dance of co-creation, We set our destination downstream, and then we surrender to the power of the universe to carry us, using our inspired actions to navigate the journey. So, how do we learn to turn our own kayak around? How do we get back into the flow when we find ourselves struggling upstream? The first and most powerful strategy is the practice of radical acceptance. The moment you feel the stress and frustration that signal you are in a state of resistance, your first job is to simply stop paddling so hard. Accept the reality of the present moment, exactly as it is, without judgment or resistance. If you are stuck in a traffic jam, mentally screaming about how you're going to be late only creates immense suffering and changes nothing. You are fighting a reality you cannot change. Acceptance is to take a breath and say, okay, here I am. I am in traffic. Instantly, the resistance drops. Your stress level decreases. And in that new state of calm acceptance, you open yourself up to inspired solutions. Perhaps you can use the time to listen to that audiobook you've been meaning to finish, or make a call you needed to make. By accepting the isness of the moment, you stop fighting the river and begin to flow with it. The second key is to anchor yourself in the present moment. Flow can only exist in the now. The kayaker is not worried about the rapids he might face 5 miles downstream, nor is he ruminating on a mistake he made a mile back. He is completely focused on the water directly in front of him. Worry about the future and regret about the past are the fastest ways to be thrown out of the flow state. When your mind is chattering about what might happen or what did happen, you are, by definition, resisting what is. And third, you must learn to listen to your rudder, which is your intuition. As you flow down the river of life, your intuition is the quiet, inner knowing that guides you. It is the subtle feeling that says, steer left here, helping you to avoid an obstacle you can't even see yet. It is the gentle nudge that says, pull over to the bank for a while, encouraging a period of rest before a challenging section. When we are caught up in the noise of our fearful, logical minds, we cannot hear these subtle directions. But when we are in a state of calm, present moment awareness, the voice of our intuition becomes clear, guiding our journey with effortless precision. Living in a state of flow is not just something that happens during a specific activity. It can become your default way of being. It is a conscious choice to view your life not as a battle to be won, but as a magnificent river to be explored. It means trusting the direction of the current, even when you don't understand it. It means viewing challenges not as malicious attacks, but simply as rocks in the river that provide an opportunity to practice your steering skills. It transforms the experience of life from one of endless struggle into one of grace, efficiency, wonder, and joy. But to consistently maintain this state, to be the calm kayaker who can skillfully navigate the river, we must first train our minds to be able to rest in the present moment, to resist being swept away by the chaotic inner currents of thought. We need a way to anchor ourselves in the now. This brings us to the foundational practice that underpins all of these mystical arts, the simple, profound, and life-changing anchor of mindfulness. Of course, here is the detailed script for part 2. Sarar, we have explored the beautiful possibility of living in a state of flow, of learning to dance with the great river of life instead of fighting against its current, to be the masterful kayaker who navigates the waters with grace and ease. We have learned that we must be present, centered, and attuned to the subtle guidance of our intuition. But this state of presence is constantly under assault, not from the river itself, but from the turbulent, chattering rapids within our own minds. Our thoughts are a relentless current, constantly threatening to pull us out of the serene waters of the present moment and into the whirlpools of past regrets or the anxious fog of future worries. To navigate the outer river, we must first learn to find stillness in our inner river. We need an anchor, a tool we can drop at any moment to secure ourselves in the calm, clear harbor of the now. That anchor, the foundational practice for all true spiritual work, is mindfulness. To begin, we must dispel the myths that surround mindfulness and meditation. Many people believe that the goal of meditation is to empty the mind, to stop all thoughts. This is a common and frustrating misconception that causes many to give up before they even begin. The mind's job is to think, just as the heart's job is to beat. Trying to forcibly stop your thoughts is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The moment you relax your effort, it shoots up with even greater force. This struggle only creates more tension. Mindfulness is not about stopping your thoughts. It is about changing your relationship to them. It is the gentle, moment-by-moment practice of stepping back and becoming the impartial observer, the silent witness to the parade of thoughts, emotions, and sensations that flow through your awareness. It is the shift from being an actor lost in the drama of the mind to being the audience member, watching the play with a sense of calm curiosity. There is a timeless and powerful metaphor that makes this shift perfectly clear. Imagine that your mind is the sky, and your thoughts, feelings, and sensations are the weather, the clouds. Most of us live our entire lives completely identified with the clouds. If a dark, stormy thought cloud of anxiety appears, we become the storm. Our entire inner world is consumed by the thunder and lightning of that thought. If a light, fluffy cloud of happiness drifts by, we feel joyful, but our peace is fragile, completely dependent on the next cloud to form. We believe we are the weather, constantly tossed about by its changing nature. Mindfulness is the profound realization that you are not the clouds. You are the sky. You are the vast, open, boundless awareness in which the clouds appear. From this perspective, you can watch a dark storm cloud of anger drift across your consciousness. You can observe its texture, its shape, its energy, but you know it is not you. It is simply a temporary weather event passing through the vastness of your being. The sky is never harmed by the storm. It is never stained by the clouds. The sky simply allows the weather to be as it is, knowing that it will eventually pass, leaving behind the clear, peaceful, unchanging nature of the sky itself. This realization that your true nature is this sky-like awareness is the core of the teachings found in the works of masters like Eckhart Tolle in his transformative audiobook, The Power of Now. You are the space in which everything happens. Meditation, then, is the formal practice for strengthening this mindfulness muscle. It is the gym for your mind. The most fundamental exercise is simple. You sit, and you choose an anchor for your attention. Most commonly, the physical sensation of your breath moving in and out of your body. Your only job is to rest your attention there. Inevitably, within seconds, your mind will wander. A thought about your to-do list, a memory from yesterday, a sound from outside will hook your attention and pull you away. The moment you notice you have been pulled away, that is the moment of mindfulness. That is the golden moment. And the exercise, the mental bicep curl, is the gentle, patient, and non-judgmental act of escorting your attention back to your anchor. The breath. You may have to do this 100 times in a 10-minute session. This is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of a successful workout. Each time you notice you've wandered and you gently return, you are weakening the old neural pathways of unconscious distraction and strengthening the new neural pathways of focused, present moment awareness. The most profound real-world benefit of this practice is the creation of a tiny, sacred space between stimulus and response. In an unmindful state, stimulus and response are fused together. Someone says something critical stimulus, and you instantly react with defensive anger response. It's an automatic, conditioned reflex. With a consistent mindfulness practice, you begin to insert a pause. Someone says something critical. You feel the flash of anger arise in your body. But because you have practiced being the sky and not the cloud, you don't have to become the anger. You can observe it. And in that tiny space of observation, you have a choice. You can choose to react from the old programming, or you can choose to take a breath and respond from a place of wisdom and calm. That space, that pause, is the birthplace of freedom. It is where you reclaim your life from the tyranny of unconscious reaction. The goal of meditation is not to become a good meditator. The goal is to bring the quality of mindful awareness into every moment of your waking life. You can practice this informally, anytime, anywhere. When you are drinking a cup of tea, practice mindful drinking. Feel the warmth of the mug. See the color of the tea. Smell its aroma, and actually taste each sip, instead of being lost in a mental movie. When you are walking, practice mindful walking. Feel the soles of your feet connecting with the earth. Feel the air on your skin. Notice the sights and sounds around you as if for the first time. In conversation, practice mindful listening. Instead of formulating your reply while the other person is still speaking, give them the gift of your full, undivided attention. These small, informal practices weave the anchor of mindfulness throughout your day, transforming mundane activities into opportunities for presence and peace. As you continue this practice, anchoring yourself in the silent awareness that lies beneath the noise of your mind, a new and fundamental question will inevitably arise as you disidentify from the passing clouds of your thoughts and emotions. You begin to wonder, if I am not my thoughts, if I am not my emotions, if I am not my body or my life story, then who am I? What is this silent, peaceful, sky-like awareness that is observing it all? This powerful inquiry leads us directly into the heart of our spiritual identity, to explore the critical distinction between the constructed self that we think we are, the ego, and the vast, eternal consciousness that we truly are, the true self. Of course, here is the detailed script for part 2. Shirsan, we have dropped our anchor of mindfulness into the turbulent river of the mind, and in the quiet stillness it creates, we have come face to face with the most profound question a human being can ever ask. Who am I? If I am not the passing clouds of my thoughts, if I am not the fleeting weather of my emotions, if I am the silent, unchanging sky that witnesses it all, then what is the nature of this sky? This inquiry leads us to the great unveiling, the central drama of the spiritual journey, the recognition of the two selves that exist within us. There is the small, constructed self that we think we are, the mask that we wear to navigate the world. This is the ego. And then there is the vast, eternal, and authentic self that we truly are, the face behind the mask. This is the true self, or the soul. Learning to distinguish between these two, to know when each is speaking, and to consciously choose which one to listen to, is the key to unlocking a life of purpose, peace, and freedom. First, we must understand the ego. The ego is not inherently evil or bad. It is a necessary survival mechanism that begins to form in early childhood. It is the mental construct of I or me that gives us a sense of individual identity. It is your name, your history, your job title, your personality, your collection of likes and dislikes. The problem is not that the ego exists, but that we become exclusively and unconsciously identified with it. We mistake the mask for our true face. The ego's core motivation, the fuel that drives its every action, is fear. Specifically, it is the deep, primal fear of its own demise, its own nothingness. Because it is a mental construct, it knows on some level that it is not permanent, and this terrifies it. This core fear manifests in a set of predictable and often destructive behaviors. The ego is, by its very nature, insatiable. It lives in a perpetual state of lack, always needing more to solidify its fragile sense of self. More money, more success, more possessions, more praise, more likes on social media. It is never satisfied because these external things can never fill the inner void. The ego also defines itself through comparison. It is constantly sizing itself up against others, feeling either superior or inferior, but never at peace. Its sense of self is entirely dependent on its perceived position relative to others. Furthermore, the ego strengthens itself through identification. It attaches its sense of I to external things. My car, my house, my political party, my opinions. When these external things are challenged, the ego perceives it as a personal attack on its very existence, leading to defensive anger and conflict. The ego loves to be right, and perhaps most insidiously, the ego thrives on grievances. It holds on to past hurts and stories of victimhood because these stories give it a strong, albeit negative, sense of identity. As the spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle describes in his profound audiobook, A New Earth, the ego often has a pain body, a field of accumulated emotional pain from the past that it periodically awakens to feed on drama and create more suffering, because even negative attention is better than the threat of nothingness. In stark contrast to this fearful, constructed self is the radiant reality of your true self. This is not something you have to build or achieve. It is what you are at your very core. It is the silent, peaceful, sky-like awareness you discovered in the practice of mindfulness. It is the timeless, formless consciousness that is animating your body. It is the spark of the divine that exists within you. While the ego's core motivation is fear, the true self's core motivation is love and expansion. Its nature is not lack, but wholeness. It is inherently peaceful and does not need anything external to feel complete. While the ego sees separation everywhere, the true self knows and feels its deep, unbreakable connection to all of life. It is the source of all true creativity, authentic passion, and lasting joy. And unlike the transactional love of the ego, which says I will love you if you meet my needs, the true self loves unconditionally. Its love is a state of being that radiates outward, not a commodity to be traded. Most importantly, the true self is not afraid of death, because it knows, with absolute certainty, that it is not the temporary body or the fleeting personality. It knows that it is eternal consciousness, a wave in the great ocean of being that can never be destroyed. Let us imagine a high-powered corporate lawyer. Her identity, her ego, is completely fused with her job. She is her title, her six-figure salary, her designer suites, and the respect and envy she commands. She is driven by the ego's relentless need to achieve, to win, to be better than her rivals. Her life is a whirlwind of stress, long hours, and constant comparison. She is a resounding success by society's standards, but in her quiet moments, she feels a profound and terrifying emptiness. One day, a health crisis forces her to stop. In the forced stillness, she begins to observe the frantic, anxious, demanding voice of her ego for the first time. She sees how it has been driving her, promising a happiness that never arrives. Through this unwilling journey inward, perhaps through meditation or reading a spiritual book, she begins to hear another voice, a much quieter one. It's a whisper from her true self. It reminds her of a long-forgotten passion she had in her youth for restoring old furniture. The ego immediately attacks this idea. That's ridiculous. You're a partner at a law firm. You can't throw away your career to play with dusty old chairs. You will be a failure. The voice of the ego is loud, logical, and rooted in fear. But the whisper of the true self is persistent, calm, and feels like coming home. She makes a choice. She doesn't have to quit her job overnight. She starts small. She rents a small workshop space and spends her Saturdays there. While sanding down an old table, she experiences a state of flow. Time disappears. Her chattering mind goes silent. She feels a deep, authentic joy that no courtroom victory has ever given her. Eventually, she makes the courageous choice to leave her corporate life. She opens a small but successful restoration business. By the world's standards, her income is smaller. Her title is less impressive, but she is infinitely happier, healthier, and feels more alive than ever before. She has stopped listening to the fear of the mask and started living from the love of her true face. This is the choice we all face, in ways both big and small, every single day. The practice is to become aware of the two voices within you. The ego's voice is almost always loud, anxious, demanding, critical, and fear-based. The true self's voice, your intuition, is quiet, calm, peaceful, and has a feeling of gentle expansion and rightness. Before making a decision, you can pause and ask yourself, is this choice coming from a place of fear or from a place of love? Is it contracting my energy or is it expanding it? As you learn to consciously choose the path of love and expansion, your life begins to transform. You stop making decisions based on what will impress others or what you think you should do, and you start making decisions based on what brings you authentic joy and peace. When you begin to shift your identity from the small, isolated ego to the vast, connected true self, a final, beautiful realization begins to dawn. You look at another person, and you realize that behind their own mask, behind their own fearful ego, there is a true self, a consciousness that is made of the very same stuff as yours. You realize that the awareness looking out from behind my eyes is the same awareness looking out from behind your eyes. The sense of rigid separation begins to dissolve, and you start to feel your profound connection to everything and everyone. This realization that we are all expressions of one single, universal consciousness is the gateway to our next exploration, the incredible power and mystery of the collective consciousness. Of course, here is the detailed script for Part 2. Shuse, our journey inward has led us to a momentous discovery. In the silent depths of our being, beneath the chattering of the fearful ego, we have found our true self, a boundless, peaceful awareness. And as we begin to identify with this self, we look out at the world and recognize that same essential awareness shining behind the eyes of every other person. The illusion of rigid separation begins to dissolve. We realize we are not just isolated individuals. We are like waves in a great ocean, unique in our expression, yet all made of the same water, all part of the same one body. This realization is the gateway to one of the most expansive and profound concepts in mysticism: the understanding that we all exist within and contribute to a vast, shared field of mind, a planetary psychic atmosphere known as the collective consciousness. This idea is not as esoteric as it may first sound. The renowned psychologist Carl Jung was one of the first Western thinkers to map this hidden territory. Through his extensive research into dreams, myths, and the psychologies of different cultures, he discovered that beneath our personal unconscious, the storehouse of our own individual memories and repressed feelings, there lies a much deeper, universal layer that is common to all of humanity. He called this the collective unconscious. He found that the same fundamental symbols, themes, and characters, which he named archetypes, appeared in the myths, legends, and religions of societies that were separated by thousands of miles and thousands of years. The archetype of the hero on a quest, the wise old man or woman, the divine child, the shadow. These figures resonate within every human soul because they are part of our shared psychic DNA. Jung's work provided scientific evidence for what mystics have always known: that at a deep level of consciousness, humanity is not many, but one. We can take Jung's psychological model and expand it into a more energetic or vibrational one. Imagine the collective consciousness as a psychic atmosphere surrounding the Earth, an invisible field of energy to which every single human being is connected and contributing. Every moment of every day, every thought you think, every emotion you feel, is not a private, isolated event that disappears without a trace. It is a drop of energy that you release into this shared field. A thought of anger, fear, or division adds a drop of dense and dark, low-frequency energy, contributing to the overall psychic smog. A thought of compassion, an act of kindness, or a feeling of love adds a drop of light, clear, high-frequency energy, helping to purify this shared atmosphere. Global events and cultural moods can be seen as the weather patterns of this collective field. A period of widespread war, economic panic, or social division is a reflection of a collective consciousness that has become dominated by low-frequency energy. Conversely, a surge in environmental awareness, a global movement towards justice, or a growing interest in spirituality and mindfulness reflects a rise in the collective vibration. A clearing in the psychic weather. There is a powerful story, or perhaps a modern legend, that perfectly illustrates how changes in this collective field can occur. It is called the 100th monkey effect. As the story goes, scientists were observing colonies of monkeys on a series of Japanese islands. On one island, Koshima, they provided the monkeys with sweet potatoes by dropping them in the sand. The monkeys liked the potatoes, but not the sand and dirt. One day, a brilliant young female monkey named Emo discovered that she could solve the problem by washing the potato in a nearby stream. She taught this clever trick to her mother and her playmates. For a time, only a certain number of monkeys on the island practiced this new skill. But then, something remarkable happened. When a critical number of monkeys, the proverbial 100th monkey, had learned to wash their sweet potatoes, the new awareness seemed to reach a tipping point. Suddenly and inexplicably, the practice jumped across the sea. Colonies of monkeys on other, completely separate islands, who had had no physical contact with the original group, began washing their potatoes. Whether the story is scientifically accurate is less important than the profound truth it represents. It is a perfect allegory for how consciousness can spread through the collective field. It suggests that when a critical mass of individuals adopts a new awareness or achieves a higher level of consciousness, that new way of being does not just belong to them anymore. It becomes an ingrained pattern in the collective field, making it easier for every other individual in the species to access that same awareness. The pioneers do the hard work, and once the tipping point is reached, the path is cleared for everyone else. This understanding bestows upon us an immense sense of both power and responsibility. It reframes our entire spiritual journey. You may have thought that your inner work, your meditation, your forgiveness, your efforts to choose love over fear was a purely personal endeavor. It is not. It is a planetary service of the highest order. The most profound and effective way to change the world, to heal the planet, and to uplift humanity is to dedicate yourself to raising your own personal vibration. When you heal a trauma within yourself, you are healing that trauma for the entire collective. When you choose to forgive someone, you are adding the potent frequency of forgiveness to the shared field, making it easier for others to forgive. When you have the courage to break a generational cycle of abuse or addiction, you are not just freeing yourself and your children. You are acting as one of the 100 monkeys, making it easier for people all over the world to break free from their own cycles. As Dr. David E.R. Hawkins mapped out in his groundbreaking book Power versus Force, higher states of consciousness, like love and joy, though practiced by a minority, have an exponential positive impact that counterbalances the low vibrations of the masses. Your personal peace contributes directly to world peace. This is the ripple effect. Never underestimate the power of a single loving thought or a small, kind act. You may never know how far its ripples spread. A moment of genuine compassion you show to a stranger in a store can shift their entire day, causing them to be kinder to their partner that evening. who in turn is more patient with their child, who then shows kindness to another child at school the next day. Your single, conscious choice to add light to the field can initiate a chain reaction of positivity that extends far beyond the limits of your perception. We change the world not by fighting the darkness, but by turning on our own inner light, knowing that our light joins with countless others to eventually illuminate the entire field. This grand, interconnected vision of life is awe-inspiring. We see ourselves not as isolated fragments, but as vital cells in the body of humanity, each of us capable of contributing to the health or sickness of the whole. This realization naturally prompts a new and deeply personal question. If we are all part of this one great consciousness, if we are all waves in the same ocean, then why the experience of individuality at all? Why have I been given this unique body, this specific personality, this particular set of talents, passions, and challenges? What is the purpose of this specific individual wave that I am? This quest to understand our unique role within the whole leads us to our next exploration, the sacred journey of discovering our soul's purpose. Of course, here is the detailed script for part 2. So, we have expanded our perspective from the individual to the universal, recognizing ourselves as interconnected cells within the vast body of the collective consciousness. We have felt the awe of being part of this great cosmic whole, and this grand realization inevitably reflects back upon us, giving rise to a new, deeply personal, and essential question. If we are all expressions of one great being, if we are all waves in the same ocean, then why are we given this precious, fleeting, and unique experience of individuality? Why are we not just amorphous drops of water, but distinct, individual waves, each with our own shape, crest, and motion? The answer lies in the sacred concept of purpose. Your individuality is not a mistake or a sign of separation. It is the specific and unique aperture through which the universe has chosen to experience itself. Your purpose is not a task you must find, but a song that only you can sing, a unique color that only you can contribute to the great canvas of existence. Our next step on this journey is to learn how to hear that song and how to paint with that color. First, we must release the immense pressure and anxiety that this topic often creates. Our ego-driven culture has framed the search for purpose as a stressful hunt for one single perfect job title or grand destiny. We torture ourselves with the question, have I found my one true purpose, as if it were a hidden treasure that we might fail to uncover, thereby wasting our entire lives. This is a painful illusion. Your soul's purpose is rarely a what. It is almost always a how. It is not a specific role you must play, but a specific quality of energy that you are here to express. Think of your purpose not as a single destination, but as a golden thread that is meant to be woven through the entire tapestry of your life. For one person, that golden thread might be the quality of bringing beauty. They can weave this thread as a world-renowned painter, but they can also weave it as a gardener tending to a small patch of flowers, as a chef arranging a plate with care, or as a parent creating a beautiful and loving home environment. For another person, the thread might be creating order from chaos. They could express this as a high-powered corporate accountant, but also as a community organizer, a diluted librarian, or simply a friend who helps others sort through their confusing problems. The form your purpose takes can and will change throughout your life, but the essential quality, the golden thread of your unique soul essence, remains the same. The goal is not to find the perfect job, but to find your unique thread and then look for as many opportunities as possible to weave it into the world. So how do we identify this golden thread? While it is unique for everyone, it is often found at the intersection of three fundamental circles of our being, a concept similar to the Japanese idea of ikigai, or reason for being. The first circle is your passion. What do you love so much you would do it for free? What subjects do you read about for hours on end? What activities make you lose all track of time and feel completely alive? This is the fuel for your journey. The second circle is your talents. What skills come naturally to you? What do people consistently ask for your help with? What activities feel like play to you but look like difficult work to others? These are your unique, soul-given gifts. The third circle is your service. How can your passions and talents contribute to the world? How can you use what you love and what you're good at to alleviate suffering or increase joy for others? This is the direction for your energy. In the sweet spot where these three circles overlap, where what you love to do, what you are uniquely gifted at, and what the world needs from you all come together. That is where the most profound sense of purpose is often found. Listening for the clues that point to this sweet spot requires the quiet awareness we have been cultivating. Your purpose rarely announces itself with a bolt of lightning. More often, it speaks in quiet whispers. One of the most important clues is the feeling of joy and aliveness. The things that genuinely light you up and fill you with enthusiasm are not random distractions. They are your soul's compass, pointing you in the direction of your true north. Pay attention to what feels like effortless effort. What work do you do that energizes you rather than drains you? That is a powerful sign that you are operating from your natural gifts. Even the emotion of envy can be a clue. If you feel a pang of longing when you see someone else living a certain kind of life, it might be your soul saying, "Pay attention. A part of me wants to express itself in that way." 2. Let us consider the story of a brilliant surgeon. By any external measure, he is living a life of purpose. He saves lives every day. This is his what? He is a surgeon. Yet, he feels empty, disconnected, and on the verge of burnout. In his quest for efficiency, he has come to see his patients as complex biological machines to be fixed. He rarely learns their names, avoids their families, and focuses only on the technical precision of his work. One day, an elderly woman facing a high-risk operation tells him, "Doctor, I'm not afraid of the surgery. I'm afraid of dying without anyone knowing my story." Something in him breaks open. He sits with her, and for the first time in years, he truly listens. He hears about her life, her loves, her regrets. The surgery is a success, but the real healing, for both of them, happened in that moment of connection. He has an epiphany. He realizes his what, being a surgeon, was correct, but he had completely missed his how. His true soul's purpose was not just to be a technician who fixes hearts, but to be a healer who soothes fear, a compassionate presence who honors the story of each soul that passes through his hands. He changes his entire practice. He schedules more time for conversation. He connects with the families. His work is now infused with this deeper purpose, and the emptiness he felt is replaced by a profound and sustainable fulfillment. He didn't change his job. He aligned his job with his soul. This brings us to the final, liberating realization about purpose. You do not have to put your life on hold while you search for it. You live your way into it. You don't find your purpose and then start living. You start living from your most authentic self, and your purpose finds you. Release the pressure of the grand, ultimate revelation. Instead, focus on the small, daily choices. If you feel your purpose is to bring joy, start by telling a good joke to a coworker. If your purpose is to create beauty, buy a small flower for your windowsill. If your purpose is to share wisdom, share a helpful article with a friend. Purpose unfolds. It is a path you create by consistently and courageously choosing that which makes you feel most alive. One small, inspired step at a time, as Marianne Williamson famously wrote in a passage from her book, A Return to Love. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. Stepping into your purpose is the act of giving yourself permission to let your own unique light shine. Knowing that in doing so, you unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. Living in this way, answering the authentic call of your soul, often requires immense courage. It can mean choosing an uncertain, unpaved path over a safe, well-trodden, but soul-crushing one. It requires a willingness to face the disapproval of others and the fears of your own ego. And this courage is tested most profoundly when we come face to face with the one great fear that underlies all others. The fear of the ultimate unknown. To truly live our purpose with abandon. To sing our song with our whole hearts. We must first make peace with our own mortality. This requires us to look directly at the concepts of death and loss. Not from a place of fear, but from a new, mystical perspective. Of course, here is the detailed script for Part 2. Sherlu, we have arrived at the threshold of living our soul's purpose, of choosing to sing our unique song in the great symphony of life. We have learned that this often requires immense courage, a willingness to step off the well-trodden path and into the unknown. But what is it that holds us back? What is the one great fear that often paralyzes our courage and keeps our song trapped in our throats? It is the final and most profound fear that every human being must confront: the fear of death and loss. This fear of the great unknown casts a long shadow over our lives, subtly influencing our decisions, limiting our joy, and preventing us from loving and living with true abandon. To fully embrace our purpose and live a fearless life, we must be willing to walk directly into this shadow. We must be willing to reframe death, not as a terrifying end, but as a sacred transition, not as an annihilation, but as a homecoming. Our intense fear of death is, first and foremost, a product of the ego. As we have learned, the ego is the constructed self, the mask of our personality that identifies completely with our name, our body, and our life story. From the ego's limited perspective, the death of the physical body is the ultimate catastrophe. It is complete and utter annihilation, because the ego cannot conceive of an existence beyond the physical. It sees death as a full stop, the end of everything it knows and is. Our entire modern society is, in many ways, a frantic and elaborate attempt to deny this reality. We distract ourselves with endless entertainment. We glorify youth, and we hide sickness and dying away behind closed doors, all in an effort to avoid confronting our own mortality. But this denial does not bring peace. It only creates a persistent, low-level anxiety that prevents us from ever feeling truly at ease. The mystical path does not offer denial. It offers a new perspective. There is a beautiful and ancient metaphor that perfectly illustrates this spiritual perspective on death. Imagine the life of a caterpillar. Its entire reality is defined by crawling on a leaf and eating. It knows nothing else. Its world is green, solid, and two-dimensional. It lives its life fully as a caterpillar. Then, one day, an irresistible inner impulse, a call from its soul, compels it to stop. It climbs a branch and begins the strange and arduous task of spinning a chrysalis around itself. From the caterpillar's point of view, this is surely the end. Its world becomes dark and confined. Its very form begins to dissolve into a primordial, disorganized goo. This is a complete disintegration of its identity, a total loss of everything it has ever been. This is the caterpillar's death. But we, from our higher perspective, know the truth. We know this is not an end. It is a sacred and necessary transformation. Inside that chrysalis, a miracle is occurring. The very substance of the caterpillar is being reimagined, reformed into a new and glorious being. And then, one day, the chrysalis breaks open, and something emerges that is not just an improved caterpillar. It is an entirely new order of being. A butterfly, a creature with iridescent wings, with the freedom of the sky, with the ability to see the world from a vantage point the caterpillar could never have imagined. It no longer crawls, it flies. It no longer eats leaves. It drinks the sweet nectar of flowers. Death, for the caterpillar, was actually the gateway to its true, magnificent form. This is the promise that mysticism holds for us. What the ego perceives as the terrifying end of its existence is, from the soul's perspective, simply the shedding of a heavy costume, a liberation from the limits of the physical body, and a transformation into our next, more expansive state of being. This is not just a hopeful metaphor. It is a truth that has been echoed through nearly every spiritual tradition in human history. The ancient Hindus and Buddhists spoke of reincarnation, the understanding that the soul, or consciousness, continues a long journey through many lifetimes, learning and evolving with each incarnation. The ancient Egyptians had a complex and beautiful understanding of the soul's journey after death, believing that parts of our consciousness, the Ka and Ba, continued to exist in other realms. And the core promise of Christianity is that of eternal life, that the spirit transcends the death of the flesh. While the details differ, the central message is the same. Consciousness is continuous. In our modern era, this ancient wisdom is finding surprising resonance in the field of near-death experience, or NDE. Research, thousands upon thousands of people, from all cultures, religions, and walks of life, who have been declared clinically dead and then resuscitated, have returned with astonishingly similar stories. They report a feeling of floating out of their physical body, of being able to observe the scene around them from the ceiling. Many describe traveling through a tunnel towards a brilliant, loving light. They often speak of being greeted by beings of light, or by beloved relatives who have passed on before them. They experience a life review, where they re-experience their entire lives, not with judgment, but with a new understanding of how every action affected others. And almost universally, they report being immersed in a feeling of unconditional love, peace, and belonging that is more real and more profound than anything they have ever known. Audiobooks like Dr. Michael Newton's Journey of Souls have explored this realm in breathtaking detail, using hypnotic regression to document the soul's experience in the spiritual realms between lives. While this is not hard, physical proof, the sheer volume and consistency of these accounts provide powerful, compelling evidence that our consciousness is not extinguished when our heart stops beating. Understanding this does not mean we will not grieve when we lose someone we love. The pain of their physical absence is real, and it must be honored. Grief is the natural expression of love. To deny our grief would be to deny the depth of our connection. A spiritual perspective does not eliminate pain, but it can hold it in a new container. While we feel the human sorrow of the loss, we can simultaneously hold the soul's knowing of their continuation. We can shift our inner conversation from "they are gone" to "their physical body is gone, but their energy, their consciousness, their soul is eternal. My love for them is a bond that time and space cannot sever." We can continue our relationship with them, speaking to them, holding their memory in our hearts with gratitude for the time we shared, and trusting that they are in a state of profound peace. When we can truly integrate this new perspective, when the fear of death loses its tyrannical grip on our psyche, our entire experience of life is transformed. A person who no longer fears the end of the story is free to live the pages of their current chapter with a new kind of courage and vitality. The small fears that used to hold us back, the fear of failure, the fear of what others think, the fear of taking a risk, all of these are children of the one great fear of death. When the parent fear is dismantled, the children lose their power. We become braver. We love more deeply, knowing that the connection of love is eternal. We live more fully in the present moment. Because we are not constantly trying to outrun an ending, we no longer fear, and we can finally embrace our soul's purpose with total abandon, free to sing our song as loudly and as beautifully as we can, knowing that our life is but one verse in a grand, immortal poem. Having faced the ultimate fear, we are now liberated to engage with all aspects of life with a new sense of fearlessness and trust. This includes the areas of our life that are often most tangled with anxiety and insecurity. One such area for many people is their relationship with money and material prosperity. Now that we have made peace with the great unknown, let us see how this fearless, Spiritual perspective can help us heal our relationship with abundance and invite a new kind of flow into our financial lives. Of course, here is the detailed script for Part 2. Sir T. Having journeyed to the edge of eternity and made peace with the great unknown, we return to our daily lives with a new sense of fearlessness and a deeper trust in the universe. This newfound freedom allows us to approach the areas of our lives that were once governed by anxiety and fear with a fresh spiritual perspective. And for so many people in the modern world, there is no area more entangled with deep-seated fear, shame, and anxiety than the realm of money. Our financial struggles, however, are rarely about the numbers in our bank accounts. They are the external manifestation of our internal energy, our stories, and our deeply held, often unconscious, beliefs about wealth, worthiness, and abundance. To heal our financial lives, we must first heal our relationship with the energy of money itself. The first step is to bring our limiting beliefs about money out of the shadows and into the light of awareness. We each have a money story that was programmed into us in childhood, a subconscious blueprint that dictates our financial reality. One of the most pervasive and damaging of these beliefs is the idea that money is somehow bad, dirty, or unspiritual, often summarized in the misquoted phrase, "Money is the root of all evil." We are taught to believe that wealthy people are inherently greedy, selfish, or unethical. This creates an impossible internal conflict if, on a deep level, you believe that being rich means being a bad person. Your subconscious mind, in its desire to keep you good and safe, will actively sabotage any attempt you make to create wealth. Another common belief is that you have to work incredibly hard for money. This belief links abundance to struggle and sacrifice, making it vibrationally impossible for you to receive wealth with ease and joy. And underlying it all is the scarcity mindset, the pervasive cultural belief that there is simply not enough to go around, which forces us into a state of competition and fear, thereby attracting more lack into our lives. The new mystical paradigm asks us to throw out these old stories and see money for what it truly is. Money is not paper, coins, or digital numbers. In its essence, money is energy. It is a neutral, flowing current. It is a tool. It is a symbol of the value that human beings exchange with one another. A hammer is a neutral tool. You can use it to build a beautiful home or to cause destruction. The hammer itself is not good or bad. The consciousness of the person wielding it determines its effect. Money is the same. It is an amplifier. Money will simply make you more of what you already are. If you are a kind, compassionate, and generous person, having more money will allow you to express those qualities on a larger scale. You can support your family, donate to causes you believe in, and create opportunities for others. If you are a fearful, greedy, and insecure person, more money will simply amplify those traits. The problem is never the money. It is the consciousness through which the money flows. By neutralizing the charge around money, by ceasing to judge it as good or bad, we can begin to have a healthier relationship with it. We must also understand the universal law of flow. To be healthy, you must both inhale and exhale. The breath must move in and out in a continuous, trusting cycle. If you try to only inhale and hoard the air, you will poison yourself. If you only exhale and refuse to receive, you will deplete yourself. The energy of money operates under the same law. To be in a state of financial health and flow, we must be open to both giving and receiving. Many of us are blocked in one of these directions. Some people are afraid to receive. They feel unworthy, deflecting compliments and undercharging for their services. Others are afraid to give. They operate from a place of fear and hoarding, terrified that what they give away will never return. A healthy, energetic relationship with money involves an open heart in both directions, receiving with gratitude and giving with joy. trusting that you are a channel for a constantly circulating universal abundance. Let us imagine a wonderfully talented painter. She creates beautiful art that touches people's souls. Yet she is constantly struggling to pay her bills. She grew up in a family that valued academic and intellectual pursuits and looked down upon commerce and wealth as being shallow. Her subconscious blueprint says, to be a poor, struggling artist is noble and pure. To be a rich, successful artist is to be a sellout. This deep belief, of which she is mostly unaware, causes her to constantly sabotage her own success. When a potential customer praises her work, she feels deeply uncomfortable and immediately downplays its value. She underprices her paintings. Feeling guilty about asking for what they are truly worth, she forgets to follow up on promising leads from galleries. Her deep-seated belief that money is unspiritual is repelling the very energy she consciously desires. One day, after hitting a financial rock bottom, she is introduced to a new set of ideas. Perhaps through an audiobook like Jen Sincero's "You Are a Badass at Making Money." She has a profound awakening. She realizes that her poverty is not a sign of her purity. It is a sign of her limiting beliefs. She sees that with more money, she could afford the highest quality paints, rent a magnificent studio with beautiful light, travel the world for inspiration, and even start a foundation to provide art supplies for underprivileged children. She sees, for the first time, that money can be a magnificent tool for creating more beauty and good in the world. She consciously begins to change her story. She starts a daily practice of affirming, I am a brilliant artist, and I receive abundant compensation for the joy and beauty I bring to the world. Money is a current of positive energy that I use to expand my creativity and generosity. She starts to practice feeling genuine gratitude for every single dollar she receives. Her energy shifts dramatically. When she next talks to a buyer, she does so with a newfound confidence, speaking of her work with the passion and respect it deserves. She raises her prices to reflect their true value. As her vibration around receiving money changes, her reality must follow. She starts attracting enthusiastic patrons who are thrilled to pay for her work. Her financial situation transforms, not because her art became better, but because she finally allowed herself to be worthy of receiving the energy of abundance in exchange for the energy she was putting out. This leads us to a crucial distinction: the difference between wealth and abundance. Our society is obsessed with the idea of wealth, which is narrowly defined as an accumulation of money and assets. But you can be incredibly wealthy and live in a state of profound lack, terrified every day of losing what you have. Abundance is a much broader and more beautiful concept. Abundance is an inner state of being. It is the deep, cellular, knowing that you have more than enough. It is a feeling of fullness. This includes financial abundance, but it is not limited to it. You can experience abundance in your time, in your health, in your creativity, in the love that surrounds you, in the joy that you feel. The true goal of a spiritual life is not just to become wealthy, but to live in a state of holistic abundance. When you cultivate the feeling of abundance in all areas of your life, financial wealth often follows as a natural byproduct. You can begin cultivating this abundance mindset today. Practice gratitude for the money you already have, no matter how small the amount. Bless every dollar that comes to you. When you pay a bill, do it not with resentment, but with gratitude for the service you received. Take a daily inventory of your non-financial abundance, your friendships, the beauty of nature, your own talents. This practice tunes your vibration to the frequency of enoughness and consciously shift your language. Instead of the dead-end statement, "I can't afford it," ask the open-ended, creative question, "How can I afford it?" The first is a declaration of lack. The second is a declaration of possibility. By healing our stories and shifting our energy, we have transformed our relationship with material prosperity. We now see it not as a source of stress, but as a neutral and helpful current of energy. But this state of holistic abundance is most richly experienced and expressed not in what we own, but in the quality of our connections with others. Now that we have done the inner work to become more whole, healed, and abundant individuals, how do we bring this new energy into the realm of our relationships? How do we use these principles to attract and cultivate deep, authentic, and soulful connections with others? This is our next beautiful exploration. Of course, here is the detailed script for part 2. Shaba, we have journeyed through the energetic landscape of our lives, learning to cultivate a state of holistic abundance, a deep inner knowing that we have more than enough time, health, creativity, and financial well-being. But this beautiful inner state finds its most fertile ground for expression and its most powerful catalyst for growth in the sacred garden of our relationships, our connections with others, our partners, our families. Our friends are not just a source of comfort or companionship. From a mystical perspective, they are our most important spiritual assignments. They are the holy laboratories where our souls get to work out their most important lessons. They are the sacred mirrors in which we are shown, with unflinching honesty, exactly who we are. The most fundamental spiritual principle of relationships is this: your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. And nowhere is that mirror held up more closely and clearly than in your interactions with those you are closest to, the people you attract into your life, and your experience of them are a direct feedback mechanism on your own state of consciousness. This mirroring works in two ways. Firstly, the qualities you deeply admire and are drawn to in another person are often a reflection of the dormant potential within yourself. If you are deeply inspired by someone's courage, it is because the seed of that same courage exists within you, waiting to be watered. If you are captivated by another's creativity, it is your own soul calling you to unlock your own creative gifts. But the mirror also works in a more challenging and ultimately more transformative way. The traits and behaviors in other people that intensely irritate you, that trigger a strong emotional reaction of anger or judgment within you, are almost always pointing to a disowned part of yourself, a piece of your own shadow that you have refused to acknowledge. This is the psychological mechanism of projection. If you find yourself constantly angered by what you perceive as arrogance in others, it might be a mirror for a deep-seated insecurity you have about your own self-worth, or perhaps a repressed desire to be more confident and self-expressed yourself. If a partner's perceived neediness drives you to distraction, it may be reflecting your own terror of being vulnerable and dependent. This does not mean you must excuse or tolerate harmful behavior from others, but it does mean you can use your emotional reaction as a powerful opportunity for self-inquiry, shifting your focus from "what is wrong with them" to the more empowering question, "what is this showing me about myself?" This understanding leads to the most powerful principle for attracting the relationship you desire. You do not attract what you want. You attract who you are. Many people approach finding a partner by making a long, detailed list of all the qualities they want. He must be kind, funny, honest, successful, emotionally available. But this is an approach that comes from an external focus, a place of lack, a belief that someone else will come and give you the feelings you are not giving yourself. The spiritual approach turns this completely inside out. The key is not to find the perfect person, but to become the person you want to attract. If you want a partner who is loving, you must first learn to love yourself unconditionally. If you want a partner who is trustworthy, you must first become a person who trusts life and trusts yourself. You cannot live in a vibrational state of fear, insecurity, and self-criticism and expect to magically attract a partner who is confident, peaceful, and self-loving. The law of resonance simply does not work that way. You must first cultivate the garden of your own soul and your ideal partner, who is vibrating at that same frequency. They will naturally be drawn to the fragrance of what you have grown. Consider the all-too-common story of a woman who finds herself in a painful, Repeating pattern. She continually attracts partners who are emotionally unavailable, non-committal, or even unfaithful. After each heartbreaking experience, she blames the men. She blames the world. She sees herself as an unlucky victim. Her story is, there are no good partners out there. But after one particularly painful breakup, she is driven to a point of surrender and begins a journey of profound self-reflection. She realizes, with a shock, that the only common denominator in all of these relationships is her. Delving into her own inner world, she uncovers a deep, core belief of unworthiness, a wound from her childhood that has convinced her she is not truly lovable. And she sees, with painful clarity, how this belief has been running her life. She was attracting partners who couldn't commit to her because she hadn't committed to herself. They didn't value her because she didn't value herself. Her external reality was a perfect mirror of her internal belief system. This realization changes everything. She takes her focus completely off finding a man and places it squarely on healing herself. She learns to practice radical self-love. She starts setting firm boundaries. She stops accepting behavior that dishonors her. She rediscovers her own passions and hobbies, learning to find joy in her own company. She uses affirmations and mindfulness to overwrite the old program of unworthiness with a new, unshakable belief in her own value. As she does this inner work, her entire vibrational signature begins to change. She is no longer broadcasting the frequency of "please validate me." She is broadcasting the frequency of "I am already whole." And as her broadcast changes, the universe's response must change. She finds she is no longer even attracted to the emotionally distant types. They no longer resonate with her. And then, one day, not because she was hunting for it, but because she had become a vibrational match for it, she meets a man who mirrors her newfound self-worth back to her. Someone who is respectful, loving, and joyfully ready to commit. This journey is the very essence of the wisdom taught in profound audiobooks like The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz, which teaches that a dream relationship starts with healing, the relationship you have with yourself. Once we are in a relationship, these principles continue to guide us. Soulful relationships are nurtured through conscious practices. Instead of the ego's game of blame and accusation, we practice conscious communication, expressing our own feelings with "I feel" statements. We practice deep listening, seeking not just to respond, but to truly understand our partner's world. And we practice a form of unconditional love, which does not mean unconditional acceptance of all behavior, but rather the ability to hold a space of love for our partner's true self, even when their ego or pain body is activated. This leads to a final, expansive perspective. The idea that our most significant relationships are often the result of soul contracts. This is the mystical concept that on a soul level, before we incarnate, we make agreements with other souls to meet up in this life to help each other learn and grow. This means that even the most difficult, painful relationships are not failures. They are the successful fulfillment of a sacred contract designed to teach you a lesson you needed to learn, perhaps a lesson in setting boundaries, in forgiveness, or in finding your own self-worth. From this higher vantage point, we can look back on all of our past relationships, even the ones that ended in pain, not with resentment, but with a strange and profound sense of gratitude, recognizing them as our greatest teachers, the sacred assignments that helped shape us into who we are today. We have now explored our inner universe, our connection to the cosmos, and our relationships with others. We have gathered a powerful set of tools for creating a life of abundance, purpose, and deep, soulful connection. The final, great question is one of integration. How do we take all of these profound ideas, vibration, mindfulness, flow, the true self, and weave them together into a coherent way of life? How do we stop this from being a set of interesting spiritual concepts and start making it our lived, breathing, daily reality? This brings us to the ultimate task: embodying the principles of the modern mystic. Of course, here is the detailed script for Part 2. Shizuo, we have undertaken a vast and profound journey together. We have explored the very architecture of reality, learned the vibrational language of the universe, and delved deep into the inner workings of our own consciousness. We have faced our shadows, discovered our purpose, healed our relationship with abundance, and learned to see our connections with others as sacred assignments. We have gathered a brilliant and powerful set of spiritual tools. And now we arrive at the most important and practical question of all. How do we use them? How do we take this treasure trove of wisdom and integrate it into the fabric of our busy, modern, day-to-day lives? The great challenge is not in understanding these concepts, but in embodying them. This brings us to our final task: to define and become a new kind of spiritual being, the modern mystic. First, we must shatter the old stereotype of what it means to be a mystic. Our minds conjure images of a bearded hermit meditating alone on a remote mountaintop, or a cloistered nun withdrawn from the world in silent prayer. This archetype of removal and escapism has led many to believe that a spiritual life is incompatible with a modern one. We believe we must choose between a life of deep connection and a life of practical engagement. This is a false choice. The modern mystic does not escape the world, they dive more deeply into it. They do not retreat from the chaos, they learn to be the calm within the chaos. They understand that the ultimate test of their spiritual practice is not in the controlled peace of a monastery, but in the unpredictable reality of a traffic jam, a difficult board meeting, or a tense family dinner. The goal is not to build a life free from all challenges, but to become a person who can move through life's inevitable challenges with grace, wisdom, and an unshakable inner peace. To achieve this, the modern mystic builds a simple, non-negotiable scaffolding of daily rituals to anchor their consciousness and nourish their soul. While the ultimate goal is to live in a state of presence 24 hours a day, we need this structure, especially in the beginning, to train our minds and tune our energy. The most crucial of these rituals takes place in the sacred time of the early morning, before the world rushes in with its demands. Before you pick up your phone and allow the chaos of emails and news feeds to dictate your energy. The modern mystic claims the first hour of the day for themselves. This can take many forms, but a powerful template is to dedicate time to mind, body, and soul. Perhaps 20 minutes of gentle movement, like yoga or stretching, to connect with the wisdom of the body, followed by 20 minutes of stillness, be it silent, meditation, or prayer, to connect with the true self. And finally, 20 minutes of learning, reading a few pages from a spiritual text or listening to an inspiring audiobook, to connect with timeless wisdom. Let us imagine a high-powered CEO. Her life is the epitome of modern stress. Her days are a frantic blur of back-to-back meetings, constant travel, and relentless pressure to perform. Her inner state is a direct reflection of her outer world. Anxious, reactive, and perpetually exhausted. She is living from the outside in. Her circumstances dictate her feelings. Then, she decides to try an experiment. She commits to just 15 minutes of silent meditation every single morning before her family wakes up. At first, it is nearly impossible. Her mind races with the 1,000 tasks she has to do. But she persists, day after day. She sits, and she gently brings her attention back to her breath. Over and over again. Slowly, a profound transformation begins. She starts her day from a center of quiet calm. Instead of frantic reactivity, this inner stillness begins to ripple outward. In her meetings, she finds she is listening more and interrupting less. She can handle unexpected crises with a sense of clarity and perspective, rather than panic, because her energy is calmer. Her team feels safer, more creative, and more cohesive. She comes home from work with more presence and energy for her family. Her company not only continues to succeed, but it thrives in this new atmosphere of conscious leadership. She is still a CEO in a demanding world, but she is no longer a victim of it. She has learned to live from the inside out. Her inner state of peace is now determining her outer experience. This is the path of the modern mystic, a path explored in books like Gary Zukav's The Seat of the Soul, which teaches us how to bring the power of our soul's energy into our material lives. Beyond these formal morning rituals, the modern mystic's practice is to dissolve the imaginary line between their spiritual life and their real life. They learn to see the sacred in the ordinary. The mundane task of washing the dishes becomes a meditation on the feeling of warm water, a moment of gratitude for clean water and plentiful food. A difficult conversation with a colleague becomes an opportunity to practice deep listening and compassion. Their job, no matter what it is reframed as a vehicle for expressing their soul's purpose. A street sweeper can see his work as bringing order and cleanliness to his community. A barista can see her work as offering a small moment of warmth and comfort to each person she serves. When every action, no matter how small, is infused with presence and intention, your entire life becomes your spiritual practice. Your life becomes a living prayer. This is the essence of living from the inside out. The default human condition is to live from the outside in. Our inner state is held hostage by external events. We think, I will be happy when I get the promotion. I will feel peaceful when I go on vacation. I will feel loved when I find the perfect partner. We are perpetually waiting for the world to change so that we can feel good. The modern mystic radically flips this script. Through their daily practices, they take 100% responsibility for their own inner state. They cultivate peace, joy, and love from within. First, they learn that happiness is not a destination to be reached, but a frequency to be tuned into. And then, from this state of inner fullness, they engage with the world. Their inner peace radiates outward, calming a tense situation. Their inner joy becomes infectious, uplifting those around them. They are no longer a thermometer, passively reflecting the temperature of the room. They have become the thermostat, actively setting the temperature themselves. They are the cause, not the effect. This is the culmination of our journey. It is the integration of all that we have learned. It is understanding that reality is a reflection of consciousness, and then taking the daily steps to purify our own consciousness. It is knowing the power of our vibration, and then choosing thoughts and emotions that broadcast a beautiful signal. It is living from the peaceful awareness of our true self, not the frantic fear of the ego. It is a life of purpose, abundance, and soulful connection. Not because the world has given these things to you, but because you have first cultivated them within the sacred garden of your own being. We have traveled so far together, from the subatomic dance of quantum physics to the highest realms of spiritual philosophy. We have journeyed through the mind, the heart, and the soul. It is now time for us to pause, to look back on this vast and winding path, and to distill this entire journey down to its most essential, empowering, and actionable truths. It is time to summarize our findings and solidify the core message that will serve as your compass as you walk your own unique path as a modern mystic. Of course, here is the detailed script for part 2. Archer, we have come to the end of this long and winding road of discovery. A journey that has taken us from the very nature of reality to the innermost workings of our own souls. We have gathered a rich collection of perspectives, tools, and practices designed to help us navigate life with more grace, power, and peace. And it is here, at what may seem like the end of our exploration, that we must embrace the most important principle of all, that on the spiritual path, there is no final destination. The journey is the destination. The path is the purpose. The process of becoming is the ultimate prize. After exploring so many profound concepts, it is easy to fall into a new and subtle trap. The trap of spiritual perfectionism. The ego, ever so clever, It can take this wisdom and forge it into a new set of rigid rules. It will tell you that you must be perfectly mindful in every moment, that you must never have a negative thought, that you must always be in a state of flow, and that if you ever feel doubt or fear, you are failing. This is a cruel illusion. This is just the ego putting on a spiritual costume. The goal of this journey is not to become a flawless, superhuman saint. It is to become a more aware, more compassionate, and more authentically integrated human being. There will be days when you feel connected, peaceful, and in perfect alignment with the universe. And there will be days when you feel lost, when your old fears and patterns resurface with a vengeance, when you feel as though you have learned nothing at all. Both are essential parts of the path. The true measure of your growth is not the absence of difficult days, but the grace and self-compassion with which you meet them. It is about shortening the time it takes to realize you've been caught in a storm cloud, and gently, without judgment, remembering that you are the sky. Imagine a pilgrim setting out on a long and arduous journey to a mythical golden city at the end of the world. The first pilgrim is obsessed with the destination. He believes that happiness, peace, and fulfillment reside only within the city's walls. And so, he rushes. He curses the steep mountains because they slow him down. He resents the winding rivers because they are obstacles. He ignores the wisdom of the fellow travelers he meets because he sees them only as competition. He plows through beautiful, sun-dappled forests without ever noticing the light, his eyes fixed only on the horizon. If he ever does reach the golden city, he will arrive exhausted and empty, having missed the entire point of the pilgrimage. Now imagine a second pilgrim on the very same path. She also holds the vision of the golden city in her heart, but she understands a deeper truth. She knows that the journey itself is what will transform her into the person who is ready to enter that city. So, she walks with a different quality of attention. She savors the beauty of the forests. She feels the strength in her legs as she climbs the steep mountains. Grateful for the challenge that is making her stronger, she sits and shares her food with fellow travelers, learning from their stories. When the rains come, she does not curse them, but practices the art of finding shelter and being patient. For this wise pilgrim, the journey is not an obstacle to be overcome. The journey is the yoga. The journey is the meditation. The journey is the teacher. Her fulfillment is not waiting for her at some distant point in the future. It is found in the richness and presence of every single step. This is the path we are invited to walk. It is the path so beautifully illustrated in Hermann Hesse's classic audiobook, Siddhartha, where a man seeks enlightenment through every possible means as an ascetic, a wealthy merchant, a lover only to finally find it in the simple, present-moment wisdom of being a humble ferryman, listening to the lessons of the river itself. Every part of his journey, every mistake, was a necessary note in the song of his awakening. As you embark on your own pilgrimage, please do not feel overwhelmed by the 19 modules of wisdom we have explored before this one. You do not need to perfectly master them all at once. The universe does not ask for perfection. It only asks for your willing participation. Choose just one thing, just one practice that resonated with you. Perhaps it is the simple act of starting your day with 5 minutes of gratitude. Perhaps it is the practice of observing your thoughts without judgment. Perhaps it is choosing one person from your past and extending them a silent act of forgiveness in your heart. A small, consistent practice is infinitely more powerful than a grand, short-lived gesture. A 1% improvement in your consciousness each day leads to an exponential transformation over a year. The smallest rudder can turn the largest ship. Choose your one thing and begin there. The rest will unfold. And finally, we must affirm the most vital truth of all. While we have discussed the wisdom of many great teachers, books, and traditions, you must never give your power away to any of them. They are merely fingers pointing at the moon. They are not the moon. The maps are not the territory. The ultimate source of truth The final guru, the only authority that can ever tell you what is right for you, resides within the sacred chamber of your own heart. It is the quiet voice of your own true self. Your journey is to learn to trust that voice above all others. Take what resonates from this journey we have shared. Experiment with it. Play with it. See if it proves true in the laboratory of your own experience. And what does not resonate? What does not feel right and true for you? Have the courage to let it go. Your path is your own. You are the ultimate arbiter of your truth. This entire body of work has been an offering, a collection of maps and perspectives to assist you on your way. But you, and you alone, are the explorer. The universe is your loving and supportive partner, the wind at your back. But you are the captain of your ship. You are the one holding the key to unlock the kingdom of heaven that lies within. So, walk on with courage, with curiosity, and with a kind and open heart. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate your progress. And be compassionate with your setbacks. Know that you are not on this journey to prove your worth, for your worth is infinite and inherent. You are on this journey for the sheer, magnificent joy of it, for the adventure of discovering the boundless, divine being that you already are. And so, our journey through the unseen architecture of reality comes to a gentle close. We began with a quiet whisper of curiosity, a feeling that there must be something more to life than what meets the eye. This curiosity led us on a grand pilgrimage, from the very nature of consciousness itself to the practical art of living a sacred, integrated life. We have traveled together through the vast, mental landscape of the universe, learning its native language of vibration. We have explored the incredible power of our own minds to broadcast our reality into being, and the alchemical force of our emotions to fuel that creation. We learned to let go, to forgive, and to trust the universal flow. We have journeyed inward, past the noisy fears of the ego, to connect with the deep place, silent peace of our true self. And finally, we have brought this wisdom back into the world, learning to walk the path of the modern mystic, finding the sacred in the ordinary and living a life from the inside out. If there is one essential truth to carry with you from our time together, let it be this: the universe is not happening to you, it is responding from you. The peace, the joy, the love, and the abundance you seek are not destinations to be reached or prizes to be won. They are not out there somewhere, waiting for you to prove yourself worthy. They are right here, right now, within you, waiting to be cultivated, uncovered, and expressed. You have been taught to see yourself as a single, separate drop of water in a vast and indifferent ocean. The truth is, you are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. The creative power that births galaxies and ignites suns resides within your own heart, waiting for your permission to awaken. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are a powerful co-creator, a divine artist. And the masterpiece you are here to create is your own beautiful, purposeful life. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Do not be overwhelmed by the vastness of the path. Simply begin. Perhaps your first step today is to spend 5 minutes in silence, simply observing your breath. Perhaps it is to start a gratitude journal, or to listen to one of the powerful audiobooks we have mentioned. Perhaps it is merely to look at the sky and feel a moment of awe, or to offer a silent, heartfelt thank you for the simple gift of being alive. The path of the mystic is not a race. It is a slow, patient, and compassionate unfolding. Walk it with an open heart. Be curious, be kind to yourself, and remember, above all else, that everything you are searching for, you already are. All the wisdom, all the love, and all the power you could ever need are, and have always been, right inside you, waiting for you to simply turn your attention inward and come home.